Are you searching for the best in online black radio? Then go to blacktalkradionetwork.com, helping you filter through the noise. Real talk, black talk.
The internet is full of half-truths and all-out lies. We've all seen them, and many people on social media complaining about it. Here's your chance to show and prove. WorldAfropedia.com is a black-owned and operated encyclopedia. There are several thousand articles, but we need help. We can't uncover all the truth ourselves. So please, join us and become a writer, editor, or blogger for WorldAfropedia.com today. Every little bit counts. We owe it to the future generations to put the truth out there. Visit WorldAfropedia.com, the African-centered encyclopedia, a global database of African knowledge for the purpose of bringing about global African wisdom and understanding. WorldAfropedia.com.
Now, businesses. What kind of businesses? We're in a business right now. It's hard. It's hard to even find a niche business, and that's mostly what we can get. Now, most of it, even though they threw it out of schools a long time ago, I talked to some people recently who are in things like refrigeration, air conditioning, things like that. There's money in that stuff. Unless I've been misinformed, you know. And these are niche businesses. How do you learn it? Well, a lot of people don't want to go to school and learn it, so learn it. Just like some Vietnamese that I read about, I think it was in Reader's Digest some time ago. Couldn't even speak English. And he was homeless. He told the guy that he would do odd jobs around the warehouse just for food money. And just become a gopher. Just run, just do things. Because he couldn't speak English. He's from Vietnam. And so they kept him around there. Because he had one thing going for him, and this is something real important that all black people ought to think about. Because it was told to me by my father, who had a business, a restaurant, about a fellow that worked for him. They called him Jalopy because he used to work on old cars. Jalopy could not read and write. He could read and write his name barely. His name was Tom Carew, but they called him Jalopy because he worked on old cars. Couldn't help fix them. But he worked for my father and he stayed around there. And I asked my father one day, because Jalopy always messed up stuff. I was about 13 years old. I said, why do you keep him around here? Because he always messes up everything. He says, Neely, I'm going to tell you something about Jalopy. He has two things about him. He's just an old country boy. Said, he's always here and on time, and he won't steal nothing. Anything that he wants, he'll ask you for it. That was back in the 1940s. That stayed with me a long time. And I passed that on to a lot of people. I said, you go on a job, even if you don't halfway know what you're doing. I say, first of all, you be there. Be there on the job. And get a reputation for not stealing. You know, sometimes we just take for granted that, you know, I knew some guys back in the 40s, who said, man, hey, that's a pretty good job. And it pays $7.50 a week. That's what wages were back in those days. And all you can steal. Guys just automatically say that. Job pays $7.50 and all you can steal. That was a common saying. But there were some people like Jalopy who didn't steal. And therefore they stood out. And that works even today. All right? Some guy who's running something, even big businessmen who are stealing, they will notice that about somebody who works for them. That guy don't steal nothing. You know, everybody we ever had here stole. You know, that guy don't steal nothing. Keep him around. He's a little bit dumb, You know, you have to tell him things over and over again, because that's the way Jalopy was, you know. But my father, you know, spotted that because he ran a restaurant, and he said, Jalopy won't take nothing. Says there's something about him, he won't take nothing. So you can, I don't care how much money you leave around, anything like that, he won't touch it. You know, what you call a dumb country boy. The next time I saw Jalopy, I was on my way on the back of a truck at Greenwood and Archer, on my way to the Army, drafted, getting ready to be sent to training to go to Korea. And I heard somebody call my name, and it was Jalopy. This was another town at another time, and he was doing well. But it instantly hit me, having a flashback to what my father said about him. I said, yeah, Jalopy would do well. Even not knowing how to read and write, he would do well. Because he's always on time if you hire, and he won't steal nothing. You know, and somebody will notice that. And anywhere he goes, somebody will notice that. You know. In other words, Jalopy is the type of guy who, hey, the owner of the place when it's snowing and he can't make it in and all like that, see? You tell Jalopy to go down and open up, you know. Trust him with all the keys. Why? Because he won't take nothing. You know? Person like that, and that's the way this Vietnamese guy was, getting back to the central story. He came here. A lot of us been here for years. And he worked his way up to be assistant manager. Why? Because he was sleeping in the place at night because the guy trusted him. He got full range of the place. He's walking all over the place. During that time, he found out where everything was, which is people that worked during the day didn't know. So they always asked whatever his name was, Pam Son or whatever it is, you know. Hey, where's the so-and-so? You know, big warehouse. And he'd go up there and tell him, I'd take it right to it. See? Next thing you know, he became indispensable. Now I'm saying all that to say this. This is the way we are going to have to become. Otherwise, we're garbage. In any situation where you are, you got to find a way that you become the person to see. That's a slow process, and you might have to take it low for a while, but that is the process, and it's going to be that way. Because like I said, a lot of us are not going to be able to go into business, because the niche businesses are drying up. You can't even hardly get a little stand on a sidewalk now. Really. I mean, they're selling a few handbags and scarves. And if you try it, you can be outbid by some guy who's getting his from a wholesaler that you don't have contact with. Anybody who's tried it, is this correct? Anybody knows anything about a little business of any type you're trying to start? If anybody in this room now, if you're going to start a business, what kind would it be? There was a gentleman who was in here a while ago, and he was handing out cards. He gave me one. He's talking about internet consulting. All right? That's a business you can be into, but a lot of people are into it already. Okay? I know a few people in the niche businesses and whatnot, but it's going to get harder and harder. Because you know, if there's any money in anything right now, the white guys coming out of college paying $200,000 for having gone to college. Now, who's got that kind of money to go to school? That's number one. Okay? And so any businesses out here that's paying anything, they grab them. I started noticing that back in the 1950s. It's just slowly been going in that direction because manufacturing is going out. It used to be if you were from a place like Ohio or even from Baltimore here. Back in the old days, well, push come to shove, I go down to the shipyards, I go to the steel mill. I don't want to do that kind of work, but I can always fall back on that. And you had a cousin or an uncle working over there. You were in Cleveland, Ohio during the 1940s. Lots of steel mill jobs, shipyard jobs, you know, where they made stuff, parts for ships and all like that. World War II is going on, the big one. None of that exists anymore. I'm talking to some people who've been in the corporate world, which you may aspire to get into. They say it ain't what it's cut out to be. Some of you might know something about it. I mean, But I talked to a black lady who's what you call educated, and she says, hey, she just got kicked around, All right? In that corporate world. More and more black males are finding that out. The young guys out on the street, they're trying to do hip-hop. That field is getting crowded. You're going to have to compete with a whole bunch of people to the extent that some of the guys a few years ago, and still some of them still doing it, they fighting each other, killing each other. I mean, on account of your song's selling better than mine. I got to eliminate you. Everybody's got us in a rivalry now, like it's a football game. Okay? Okay, everywhere you go, where you see black people, you see basketballs being bounced. How many of them are going to make it? And if you're just looking for a job, where is it? I've been out of the job market for years. But if I was 30 years old now looking for a job, can anybody in here tell me where I'd be looking? I'm a black male, 30 years old, on the streets of Washington. I have a 11th grade education because I dropped out. Is it anybody in this room can tell me if I had to go Monday morning looking for a job, where would I go looking?
Context of White Supremacy. Gus T Renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the system of white supremacy. Today's date, Thursday, February 23rd, 2017. So I have been told. This is our weekly Thursday Workplace Racism Forum. We encourage folks, dial in, share if you have experiences, problems on the job, if you have figured out some strategies that work well with regards to neutralizing racist activity, minimizing conflict with other black people on your job, other non-white people on your job, other white people on your job. If you have figured out some things where you can just go to work, you do your job, you get all your raises on time, get all your promotions, go do your work, and you get to stay there until you get ready to retire or move on to another job. That's exactly what we need. If you're having difficulty, certainly you can dial in, share whatever those problems are, and get feedback, strategies from our listening audience. Certainly I always encourage folks, this is not a program for spectators. This is not a broadcast where we just, tune in every Thursday just to hear the zany stories that black people are telling, things that are happening to them on the job. That's not what this is designed for. If you are a victim of racism, you listen to this program, you should be able to participate. I seriously doubt that we have got folks on the line who are not now and or have never had issues with racism on the job. I just do not believe that. That being the case, we should have lots of folks who are chiming in and participating. This is a program. There should not be people who are saying, oh yeah, I've been listening to workplace racism on the context of white supremacy for, months, weeks, and have never participated. That should not be happening. This is one way that you can participate and share some of your thoughts, get a little bit more comfortable speaking accurately about racism, white supremacy. The number to dial, 641-715-3640. The code is 564-943#. Press star 6 if you would like to participate. That number again, 641-715-3640. The code is 564-943#. pound. Press *6 if you would like to participate. Again, particularly the reflecting on previous workplace experiences, I think that's something very important for all of us. I think, unless I've been misinformed, I don't think there's anybody that can truthfully say that, they were just born and they already had an accurate understanding of racism, what it is, how it works, what to do on the job. They had their tactical pen in hand at birth. I don't think, anybody can truthfully say that. So for most of us, we have evolved. We have, learned, we've got more information. So we can look back and say, wow, when I worked this job, I had this problem. I didn't really understand racism very well. I didn't, have a code about how to function, how to behave on the job. And if I had known some of the things that I know now, I would have done this. I would not have done this. I would not have said this. I would have said this. That, I think, can be very helpful. So if you have reflections, that is always welcome. And certainly any of the folks, if you are what they call self-employed, share. Always great to hear how black people, non-white people who work for themselves, how that changes the way you experience racism, white supremacy on the job. With that, and certainly any of the folks, if you are listening and you're in a loud environment, or you're someplace where you're just not able to speak with us, you can always email untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. We can share your commentary anonymously. If you want to just share feedback, suggestions, if you want to throw a question out to listeners, you can do it that way, and we'll read it on the air. I keep an eye on my email as we proceed through the program, so feel free, untiljustice@gmail.com. People already wrote in thoughts, questions they wanted to share. I'll get to some of them. The first one, I was stunned. Not totally, but it was pretty surprising. I had a listener write in. She said she's a 16-year-old black female, and her sister, older sister, was talking to her about racism, and I guess she wasn't as receptive at first, and then things began to sink in at 16, where she realized that her sister had been telling her truthful information about racism and the world in which we live. So she wrote in, she wanted a segment on Dr. Welsing, and then it switched to workplace racism, which for her would be the classroom. So she writes in about her workplace or classroom experience. So she says, let's see. Recently, I took a history class taught by a white teacher with whom I had a rather close relationship. He gave me a 75 as an overall grade, and I didn't think that was accurate. I later found out that a white male student who often slept through class received an 80. I confronted my teacher and asked him if I would receive a high grade if I slept through the course as well. Woo, 16 and asking questions. Brilliant. He called me angry, disrespectful, and feisty, and patronized me the entire time. He even went so far as to push my glasses up when they slid down my face. I started to get upset that I started to get so upset that my mouth was twitching, and the more upset I became, the more he smiled. He told me that I shouldn't be concerned with any other student besides myself, and that I wasn't as prepared as this boy was for the class. He ended up giving me an apology, during which he called me angry and disrespectful yet again. On top of all this, he has yet to change my grade. I would like to know if you have any suggestions for interacting with white people on a daily basis without losing your mind. If folks have suggestions, you can certainly share. We do talk about mental health on the program on a pretty regular basis. I think that's very important, and developing strategies at a young age. I think that would certainly help many non-white people. I know a lot of us, myself included, did not do that. In terms of this situation, it might be helpful to tell your parents if you are a younger person in terms of dealing with the grade, because I would probably want that addressed. That's something that is not up to, well, you should be able to minimize discretion. Like grading is supposed to be on like objective things, classroom participation, that sort of thing. So he should be able to provide evidence as to why you deserve a 75. And if he can't, then the grade should be adjusted. So I would, encourage your parents to get involved, and even in the manner of the discussion. Like I would, if he touched your glasses and, pushing them up on your face, I would raise a concern about that as well. I don't know, generally, that's one of those where I talk about reading policy and procedure. I would read the manual at the school to see if they have a policy about teachers touching students. I would make that very clear that that is not appropriate, particularly within the context of someone, raising a question about a grade. And maybe I got an inaccurate grade. Maybe we need to look at this again for that sort of thing to happen. But I would definitely incorporate your parents. And then from the mental health aspect, I think a lot of times just recognizing this is racism, white supremacy. This is what we have to deal with, acknowledging that. And then when you get frustrated, when you get angry about, these type of situations, take time that you need. I think a lot of times what happens is we do not take the time that we need to care for ourselves. We're just frustrated, upset about things, and we just stay angry, stay frustrated, move on to something else, and it really causes a lot of damage to our systems that just doesn't get addressed and just, really concentrates and can become a real problem. But certainly, folks have, if you want to address either side of that, feel free. Moving forward. Another young person, a young scholar in the Bay Area, roughly the same age, he wrote in, he says, a couple days ago, our school hosted a Black History Month assembly. There was a performance from a company directed by OSA alumni, and it was phenomenal. It was focused on Emmett Till, and the reenactment was spot on. It covered most of the details of what happened to him, and it made a lot of students cry when they saw it. I was astonished by the beginning of the performance when they discussed what it is like to be a black person in this world. I'm actually pretty satisfied with the fact that the school is really recognizing this month as something iconic. In my history class, we have been doing this portion of class where we learn about facts relating to black history, and I found this modification was really helpful since it is the only class that we do this in. Mind you that the 10th grade history teacher is a black woman. That is all I would like to share. This is our young scholar. That is grand. They had a whole assembly on Emmett Till. I would be curious if Timothy Tyson's new book came up, but that's great. Accurate information on racism, according to our young listener. This is the last one I'll read before we get to some of the folks who called in. Okay, person said, I wanted to share a few words about my experience working in the fashion business. It's been close to 10 years since I last held a full-time job in the fashion industry, although I still freelance and work on my own projects here and there. I believe my absence from full-time work was due to me not willing to disrespect myself first and foremost, but specifically not allowing myself to be effeminized to prove I had style or produce clothing correctly. From 2004 to 2007, I designed denim jeans for a young men's urban brand. I entered the job as an assistant designer under a white female designer who literally did nothing but take notes in meetings with the director and then pass them on to me. I was the only male working with 6 females. I worked on initial designs, computer drawings, and even technical packages. Ever so often, I would drop off sketches to her desk only to find her online shopping all day or layering on 2 tons of powdery makeup, which never really matched her face. I've been doing the work of both designer and assistant for quite a while, even for a season or 2 once she left the company. In that time, I asked for a promotion to designer, to which I was told the company was consolidating its separate denim bottoms positions. They worked on multiple brands into one bottoms design team, and I would be an associate designer on that team of 2 people. They brought in a bottoms director designer, and I stayed in the same position with a new title. The new director was a white Frenchman with the feminine flair who did just a tad more than the white female designer that I worked with previously. I found that whites would toss around money at the company, but just not to me. Instead of giving me the raise I deserve, they decided to send me, along with the new director, to China to work on sampling of new styles. With lodging, food, airfare, and incidentals, my portion of that work trip of about 2 weeks amounted to just over $12,000. The work that I got done in China was all work that I normally did back in New York City. All the hard work I put in didn't amount to very much at that place. After a second trip to China, they terminated me for doing my job too well and being a self-starter without a supervisor's permission. Well, if anything, I think we have stated before, I know I have, that I think a lot of times victims of racism, we get confused and think that, the problem is black people not working hard enough, or if we work really hard and show that we're super competent and skilled, that will impress racists. They won't mistreat us. And I've said that I've seen the exact opposite a lot of times. I think some of our listeners have attested to that. Another example of that illustration, hard work and all that, they'll exploit it where they can, and sometimes that might just be grounds for, as he said, termination outright. With that, if folks have commentary, the number to dial 641-715-3640. The code is 564-943 pound. Press *6 if you would like to participate. Folks who dialed in with a hand up, line should be open. Feel free to chime in.
May I be heard? Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
So, okay, I'll make it real quick. I only have 2 observations. Hello to everyone. First, I have an update. I actually called in. I'm not quite sure within the past couple of weeks. I've been calling in for a little while now. I spoke about my friend who was at his job, a white man had stolen a bunch of different things because he works at like a reseller, and he had actually told me the white man, he actually ended up leaving the job only after he was caught trying to resell a truck full of stuff. They actually had to call the company that he was trying to sell the items to stop the sale. Well, the update is that the company did finally catch the white guy. He was actually in cahoots with another white man, a manager on the job. So they ended up having all the police there, and they ended up walking the other white guy out. And as soon as he saw the police, he basically just dropped everything and just kind of, hung his head down and looked down at the ground and walked out. So I just thought that was interesting, and they still don't really know, or they still aren't telling everybody else within the company how much they actually stole. But I'm assuming if the regular employee was brave enough to steal a whole truckload of stuff and try to resell it, I'm sure, like I said before, it's in the tens of thousands of dollars. The other incident that I had was actually with my job, and it was like a past incident. And when I was going back through the archives, because I have been keeping up with the current book study, and just the whole palatableness of that if we as black people, if we try to be more white, then that kind of makes it seem like we are the suspected racists. They receive us a little bit better, basically. Well, and also it makes you think about what you all have been saying throughout the show, that we should be taking notes and everything. And in one meeting, I was taking notes, and apparently I was the only person who was taking notes. Or actually, I brought notes to the meeting because we were discussing issues. And I was one of the only black people within the meeting. I think I was actually only one of 2 black females in the meeting. And one white lady from a different department, she was so impressed. She was like, "Oh, I love you," and smiled real big at me and everything. And so it just definitely made me think about that. Like, once they somewhat cease, once they recognize one of their tactics, which is something that they study, like Mr. Falera said, they study everything, then that's kind of makes them happy. But then it also, I feel like, it puts us in a position to be watched more. That's all I had. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Wow. Wow. The other female caller who yielded the floor, did you want to share?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's having a nice night tonight. I could really use a little bit of advice on how to deal with some issues I'm having at work. I do work in retail, and they hired a new guy at work. He's a white guy. I'm about 99% sure that he's a white supremacist. He just started last Saturday, and I had no idea what he looked like. I just heard that this is such and such, the new hire. And so when he walked in, I said hey and greeted him and everything. And he didn't say anything to me. He just kind of looked at me. I was standing like in the front of the store with the manager, and he just walks right over to the manager, and he talks to the manager and everything, and they start talking and laughing like they're old buddies or whatever. And I had no idea what this guy's name was for at least 2 hours. He didn't introduce himself to me. He didn't even act like I was there. And I'm in charge of training him. And over the past week, I've been trying to train him up and do everything. And he always acts aloof, like I don't teach him anything when the manager comes around. And also, it's a white woman that I work with, and she's very skittish. I really don't trust her to start with. And she always wants to hug me, and she's always crying about something. And I've told her several times, don't touch me, don't hug me, and she just keeps on doing it, and I don't know what to do about this, because I'm the only black person there, and I've expressed that I've had some issues with other employees, and nothing ever gets done. And that's all. Thank you.
With the no touching aspect, and certainly if there are other black female, this is another one, the spectating. If you are a black female, if you've dealt with this issue before, if you have suggestions on how to neutralize this issue, then opportunity to make sure you are not spectating. But my thought, because this comes up all the time on the program about the unwanted touching, I think I said this last week, I would make it immediate. I don't know what the nature of it is, if it's a hug or if it's, rubbing you or patting or whatever it is, but I would immediately step away. Whoa, I do not do touching on the job. I'm here to help. I'm here to be a team player or whatever the link. If they say family or whatever it is, we can get things done. I will help you in any way that I can, but I do not do touching on the job. I would just make that immediately clear. If it's a hug, I would immediately move away. If it's any sort of pat or anything like that, I would snatch away. I would bolt. Like, give me, 5-10 feet. Mr. Fuller, I think he said that specifically. It would be immediate. Whoa, what's going on here? Unless we're working in like a brothel or something like that, then, hey, let's be professional. Let's be business associates and how we're handling things. We're not here to, get a date or anything like that. That would be my suggestion. Are there other? You said this is a white woman, right? Who's doing this?
Yeah, she's a white woman. She's really skittish, and she's always crying over something Donald Trump did. That's her new thing. So I really just don't have anything to say to her. All I know, she voted for him.
This could be, in my view, this is one of the ways that, the vampiric nature. We're doing Delectable Negro tomorrow. One of the ways that they are parasites with us is our time and energy, and demanding like our emotional energy, like come and cheer me up, or come and listen to me, or just come and let me tell you about all my stories, and I want to touch on you and all that, where it's just another way that they consuming our time directly, but still consuming us, in my view. And I think a lot of folks have talked about this in the workplace setting specifically, where whites are doing the same thing that you're talking about here. Do we have any of the any female since this is not a male-female, any callers have suggestions on what you would recommend for this touching thing, how you would deal with this white woman?
May I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm actually one of the black females who had spoken before about the touching. I was the one where the white woman kept touching my chest. I know that the female caller, she said that she's told the white woman to not touch her, but also what I've done, because when I actually took your advice and everyone's advice, and just told her flat out, hey, I don't want that to be done anymore. She hasn't done that, but then I also took the extra step to try to avoid her. I know that, like you said, that like the female caller said that she works in the retail industry, so I'm not quite sure if that is if she's able to do that, but I know that's definitely helped me out. As soon as I see her coming one way, I try to basically make a beeline the opposite direction, but I also don't see her that much either. But I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, this is kind of like the second or third time that I gave a suggestion to the very subject. And once again, I'll say, and I'm definitely not faulting a victim of racism and white supremacy for that type of infraction. It's something that it wasn't triggered by the non-white black person, the lady, but in this world that is dominated by the global system of racist white supremacy, we're going to have to kind of like alter our personalities. I may not be using the right terminology. Help me if it don't make any sense. But we're going to have to alter our personalities. Even what is considered to be feminine and dainty, quote unquote, it's just going to have to change from a standpoint of that person putting their hands on you and consistently do it. Because what she's talking about, I have witnessed myself, especially white females. A non-white female, especially a non-white black female, would probably get it without even no real serious talk at all. But white females are determined. That's what white people do. But you're just gonna have to be consistent. You're gonna have to look that person right in the face. Now, I'm not necessarily recommending this, but I would say this is what I have done. There's not security cameras all over the place, all over the time. And at some points in time, sometimes you may get that person somewhere where it's just you and that other person. Now, I'm not talking about anything physical. I'm literally talking about telling that person, in so many untold words, that you're not going to be touching me anymore. I'm here to work. I'm just giving an example. I mean, I don't use my words, and your words may be much more better than mine. But it's so many untold words. Just tell that person, let them see how serious you are about the situation. I'm not saying that you're not, but white people, white females, like animals, like predators. They know someone who basically has a personality where they can continue to do certain things to them, to that person that they don't appreciate, and they do it from the standpoint of the best thing I can say about it is they do it kind of like to torment that person in a sense until that person stands up to them. That's basically what I'm saying. It's a form of bullying in a sense. But that's basically. I mean, I may have taken a long time because I've seen it a lot, and I've heard about it also, and I've heard it on this program, and that's what I would recommend. I've actually have did something similar to males, and I only had to do it one time. Let them know one time we ain't friendly like that. I didn't come on this job to that I had to get along with somebody. I'm coming here to work and do the best I can at work. I'll be courteous to you, but you are not going to put your hands on me as long as I'm around here. And I better leave it alone from there. Thank you for listening.
Can I be heard? Hello?
I heard both of you. We'll get, I guess we'll get Emmy first.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
In a similar vein as what Mr. Firefighter said, I think that there's a certain level of ownership that we get to have as victims of racism and white supremacy, but also as Black females over our space and our body. It's something that I've had to deal with, and later on I'll comment on even a new situation. But one thing with, I know that you don't want to cause any conflict at your job. And I think one big part about codification is not causing any conflict, because you're there to make your money and make whatever moves it is that you want to make. At the same time, we have to be very clear that there is a space where you can be very firm with another person, especially a white person, and making sure that your space is respected. When I was going through it, and it was at its height, and I was just like it reached a point where I was just like, wait a minute, I'm not about to be in conflict about my body. That's not up for negotiation at all. Of all the things that we're negotiating, I'm not negotiating my body. If I don't want to be touched, everybody should understand that I don't want to be touched, and I'm not going to be touched. So if you touch me, this is what we're going to do, or go through as many times. So I reached that kind of point, within myself. I was just like, oh, no more. Absolutely not. And one of the things that I found very helpful that I wanted to share specifically is way more of communication is nonverbal than it is verbal. So when we're communicating, people are really reading our nonverbals more so than what it is that we're saying. So making sure that when you're telling this woman, your nonverbals are not contradicting just the words that you're saying. So there are wonderful videos on YouTube. I'll try to find one and post it on Gus's Facebook page about reading nonverbals and ways that you can actually prevent people from coming in your space or avert certain type of situations just by how you're posturing your body. Now, if someone snuck up behind you, I don't know what to say about that. But if you see someone come in, there are things that you can do, practicing holding, looking them in their eyes until they look away. These things might seem like they're irrelevant, but they're not. So if you feel like looking up the video before I can find it, I do think that that's really important. Even how you stand with your hands, how your feet are positioned, all of this speaks a lot to how you feel about yourself and how, the certain ownership of your space that you do. And I do think that that is constructive. I have seen that work for myself. But I will just say, you are female. And I know it's in the air whether or not we can be considered women because we're Black, whatever. But your body is your body. And becoming resolved that no one is going to touch you, white, wench, or no, is really an internal thing. You know what I'm saying? Even if the conversation is look, Sue, we've had this conversation many times about you coming and hugging me, and I feel like I've told you that I don't like it. So I don't like it. Stop. And let's not have this happen again. Otherwise, we may need to go ahead. And you know what? Even putting that in writing, I don't know, what you all's system is, if y'all email each other and stuff like that, but emailing it, too. I had to email somebody one time, too, for touching me. And putting in an email. Look, listen, I know that you are all touchy-feely, however you want to word it. And I know you feel like we're close or whatever, but please don't touch me. That way it's already in writing. And if this happens again, boom, I've already notified her in a very professional way. Here we are doing this. And be prepared if you have to escalate it. I don't think that you should say to yourself, if nothing happens, then there's nothing that can happen. If you keep telling her and she keeps doing it, that you don't have other moves that you can make. Because it's your body, and nothing feels more gross than when people just keep touching you whenever you don't want them to. I will confess, I would sit here in my room, it'd be hours, the next day, and I still feel funny because somebody touched me. So if you are anything like me in that respect, if you have to go ahead and know that you might have to go above this white woman or speak to somebody else, and however, go ahead and be prepared to do that very professionally, in a very correct way, with all the right verbiage, but because it's your body, and this is not up for negotiation. This is basic standard practice. If you don't want to be touched, you shouldn't be touched, period. Thank you.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. The caller is 7656.
Thank you so much for taking my call. Good evening, everyone. I agree with what's been said. Again, you can do it informally. Now, don't say this, but if you touch me inside, I'll have to touch you outside. Don't say that. Don't do that. But what you can do is, since you said this lady seems skittish, this is a safety issue. You can go with your body and emotional. Don't get emotional. This is a safety issue. You've told her something several times, and she can't hear you. You work in a retail establishment. Communication is important. She is affecting the productivity of the organization. You don't have to make it about you. You don't have to make it about her. Say, this behavior does not help the organization. This is a safety issue, because if she can't hear, like you said, you work in a retail establishment. What if you see a forklift? I don't know what retail establishment you work at, but if it's a big box chain or something like that, they usually have forklifts and stuff, moving around. If she can't hear or she's jumpy or something, that affects everyone else's performance, and that's just not good. So I will put it that way. She's probably not a danger to you. You could probably take her, I guess, if you wanted. But her actions are a danger to the organization. And as a trainer, you have to remain professional, and that training doesn't involve being touched all the time. Thank you.
Did other folks have suggestions that they wanted to share? Thank you to the two previous female callers. Did other folks have suggestions on how to deal with the touching situation? I guess no other suggestions on that. I too think just with whichever strategy you take, I definitely think viewing it as an act of black self-respect. To the best of your ability in a workplace setting. Make sure that people are not, touching you in an unwanted manner. I think it can be very helpful to practice what you're going to say. I've said that all the time. I think you'll put yourself in a much better position if you can, ahead of time, already think of things that you might have to deal with on the job. And then, how would I respond? So you already know it's likely that this white woman is going to do this again. So the next time, this is what I'm going to do. You figure out your own way of what you want to say. You can already envision the tone, how you want to sound when you say it, what you want to do with your body. I think talked about, nonverbal communication and what you want to signal with your posture, if you want to be standing or seated or whenever this might happen. But already plan that out, and you can say it. say it a few times. You can say it in the mirror, so that way you'll already have some muscle memory about, all right, this is what it sounds like when I say it. This is the tone that I want. You'll already have some practice. And I'm of the opinion that whites do this with us. They already rehearse how they're going to carry out some of the things that they do and get their words together. We're just doing the same thing. This is how you refine your counter-racist code. It's been my experience for some people that is very helpful. They already have done it a few times, so they don't feel as nervous. They feel a little bit more confident going into that situation when it happens.
Thank you. I will actually practice that. I do that in certain situations. Like if I know I have to train the next day, I kind of go over what I'm going to be going through. So I will just add practicing what I'm going to say to her into that.
Absolutely. And I think the email is a big one, too. I think Emmy had a lot of great success with that, using it real time, emailing the person. That way you have electronic documentation that this happened, where you start accumulating a paper trail of incorrect behavior. I've seen in a lot of different circumstances where people, as they say, they straighten up and fly right once there starts to be electronic documentation of their incorrect behavior. Right on. If folks didn't have other suggestions on this, I guess if you have them as we go, that's fine too. If other people that dialed in, if you have your own situation that you want to share, or if you have questions, comments about what we've discussed thus far, proceed.
Yes, really quick before we move on, can I make a comment to the 16-year-old female?
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to do it just in case she listens and she doesn't listen to like the whole thing. I kind of wanted to put it in earlier. Number one, I think that's like super, super fantastic. Hopefully one day you're able to call in and we can talk to you. I think that'd be awesome to hear from you. I was trying to think of what would be the best advice that I could give to a 16-year-old coming to this information who just had a relatively traumatic experience. Like, I would think that that's slightly traumatic, especially someone, because I wear glasses, and when you said it, I was like, wait a minute, if someone put their finger, like, in between my eyes and pushed my glasses, like, I would totally feel violated, like, enraged even. Like, I'd probably be screaming for days about it. My blood pressure and stress level would be so high. So what would I say to somebody that would be constructive, like something that you could do? Because I think writing in was one really great thing. Like, sharing your story is fantastic. I also think that since you are having access to such wonderful information, like the creme de la creme, as they call it, as information, you are at such an advantage. One thing that you can do as like turning your experiences into something constructive for yourself even, and then maybe for other people at large, is documenting. Like, you could be like an investigator in all these situations. There's another young gentleman the scholar from the Bay Area, he talks about a lot of things that he sees in his class, in his school, in his environment, but you could be writing it. So the point that I'm trying to get is that you could be writing your experiences. I don't know if you've listened to a lot of these, but if you have, then you've probably heard Gus mention to some of us older folks out here in the work environment to keep a workplace journal. And who knows, you might journal already, so this could be completely mute. But if you don't, or maybe it's like specify your journaling to where it's like specific to racism and the things that you're observing, particularly about racism, I think that would be great. You could start with this entry and write all the details that you can, observations that you made, things you realized leading up to it, things you've observed about this white boy who sleeps in class all day but still can get a better grade than you, things you observed about this white teacher. You could just be, and since no one really knows like what all that you know, then I always think that that's a very powerful place, because then they think you're stupid, which means that you could be asking questions, which you did wonderfully, and then be writing all the answers that you get and be compiling that information. And what that will help do is, because now that you're going to start seeing more because you have access to more information, it'll be harder to make sure, like, it won't be harder, but you just want to make sure that you don't make it personal. Like, begin to think that this is like you alone, or something about you, or if you adjust your behavior, or maybe you did something. Like, no, you can avoid all of that by go ahead and documenting, so that because sometimes a traumatic experience, later on you'll think about it and be like, well, was that and all that? You don't even have to do that. Bypass all that and journal specifically about your experiences. Since you're coming on to the information, I think that'll help to clear your mind of what you're seeing and protect your energy so that you don't feel dissipated. And then it'll also protect you if you try to talk to other people your age who may not be receptive to all of the things that you want to talk about. You won't be without a outlet. Like, I know you do have your sister. I think you said that. But also so you can just have a place where you can just get it all out. I think journaling would be great, or blogging or however, all the young people are doing it these days. But you could write about it. So thank you for sharing your story, too. That's it. Thanks.
Grand. Other folks that we have not heard from, if you have commentary, feel free. The other people that are on the line who have a hand up, did you all have commentary? Just dialed in to spectate.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm on a new audio system, so if my audio cuts out or it sounds not up to par with standards, please just let me know and I'll try to remedy this. But I am reporting from Los Angeles, and this is Ken Steele. And I guess with workplace racism, I'm going to have to address, I guess, my other pursuit or my other workplace, which is the realm of comedy. One of the things that is present in comedy right now is that a lot of activity is going on Facebook. A lot of networking goes on Facebook, and recently a club owner from Chicago, I guess, took offense to some of the things that I was posting on one of his comments and one of his statuses. I guess I pointed out the fact that he was in fact a Milo supporter, and then for the next few days he decided to begin harassing me on the internet. And I said, I don't go back and forth with Nazi sympathizers at one point. And then later he denied being a Nazi sympathizer, and then he sent me some swastikas. And then, or he sent me a picture of a black person wearing a T-shirt of a swastika or something. So this guy was being, I guess, very racist towards me, and then leveraging his position as a club owner to, I guess, shut me out or shut me down. And then eventually he made direct threats towards my safety and saying that he's going to say where he's going to find out where my gigs are, and he's going to send people to Irvine to come and get me. And, it was all very, very jarring. And then to top everything off, he is one of the people in Chicago that are, I guess, advertising gun sales on the internet. So all of this happened in the realm of comedy. And one thing that this whole situation brought to mind was something that my mother made aware to me some years ago when I was getting started. And she said, you do realize that every single time you perform, you are out late at night in settings with alcohol where people's emotions are being, I guess, played with. And I don't know, this whole situation really brought to light for me just how exposed one is on when telling jokes on stages at night. and just how vulnerable one can be in this position. And I guess that's something that I guess was episode of workplace racism. I eventually went and reported this incident to the police in Irvine, and they essentially told me that there was no criminal act that was done on his part. And, that to me seems really hard to believe when I noticed that people have been arrested for saying much less threatening things to people online. And they called what he was saying thinly veiled threats. And for their criteria for a threat to be credible, it has to be actionable and it has to be specific. And this person, in the course of these postings that he made on a public forum, by the way, that he made, they were fairly, they were, in my estimation, very specific. I mean, he said exactly the town that I'm often in. He made mention that he knows people that knows me. He made mention that he has plenty of money. He had made mention that he knows or that he will find out where my gigs are. And, I don't know how much more specific that is that you have to get. But they made it seem like for a threat to be credible, somebody has to be standing right there in your face with a gun. And, and then they made mention that they're being victimized on the internet all the time by people who over scrutinize where they park on emergency calls. That was, I guess, the example that they gave to me for the type of harassment that they receive online. But this, I don't know, this was very racist, the way that he was approaching me. He was posting pictures of firearms that he had for sale. So it suggests to me that he has excess firearms if you have firearms to sell. So he is armed. He made mention that he had a concealed carry permit in comments. So all of this is very, very, very scary to me. And I'm in fear of my life, to tell you the truth. And this is all based off of the workplace of comedy. And the police made mention that is, they made mention of a line that I guess is a cliche, because I've heard it from Neely Fuller, and I've heard it in The Godfather. He said, it was a variation of the phrase, this is the business that you have chosen. So, this is what I'm facing right now currently. I'll mute my line from here.
Wow. I am sorry to hear that, Mr. Steele. I think it's always best to take that sort of thing seriously, just because these white people, they are so dangerous. I think 8-year anniversary, as Mr. Nero has said previously, white people kill for fun. And I have seen where these, I think they call it like the internet trolling, or just something that starts on social media. That sort of thing can get real serious. Anything with white people can get serious, but where they have these racist trolls, we have been attacked by them sometimes, and I think some of these white people, they have trolls that just go out and harass people and, cause all kinds of problems for them. So I would take it seriously and just be vigilant. And exactly the way that the enforcement officials responded, I'm not surprised about that at all. Them giving you the Godfather line, like, hey, this is what you chose, this is what you signed up for, this is what happens being in the public eye. We get the same thing, toughen up, buddy. Like they can't do anything with. And I agree. I think I have seen recent incidents where white people, when they were subjected to the same sort of abuse, white people took it seriously, and they went and did something and made it clear that sort of conduct was not, acceptable. They're not going to tolerate it, not going to put up with it. Unless, other folks had comments, suggestions on what they have heard thus far, questions. Other folks that we have not heard from at all, did you have your own commentary you wanted to share?
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If it's okay, I'll share just a couple of things. Go ahead and move it out the way. I'm so happy that so many young people are listening to the cows. I think there just may be even more than I previously thought, and that just really makes me excited and happy. One thing for the young people, I'm going to say stay away from social media. If you listen to this, like you just heard a great example of why. There's really no need to be putting your political stance, your perspectives on the system of racism, white supremacy, or what you're learning about the system of racism, white supremacy, on there. Like, if you want to share news and stuff, like, I totally get that. Come up with another alias, make a whole new page, drop off altogether. I think you just really want to be smart, especially because when you're young, you don't know the further ramifications. Those of us in the workforce, we know we've been thoroughly trained not to do stuff like that because it can come and, be bad for us. But you're young, so you don't really know that quite yet. But I can see colleges and stuff looking at that, and it could be, to your detriment in the future if you're out there putting all of your feelings. So I would say just to, tie that in because the young people are listening, don't. So one of the things that, so I had a touching situation, but it wasn't necessarily a touching situation, but I was disappointed in how I handled it. So I was on campus, and I was walking through a revolving door, and I should have known better. Like, that was why I was so upset. It was like, I never fathomed that someone would invade my space in the revolving door. Like, to me, that was such standard practice. One person per, triangle of the revolving door. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So I get in the revolving door, and I feel somebody on my heels, and I look back, and it is this white guy. And I'm like, you right, like, you were on, I didn't even know. You know what I'm saying? I was so caught, and I turned, and I looked at him. He knew, and he just kept a straight face and walked. I didn't even know what to do. And by the time I came to, like, I still wouldn't even know, you know what I mean? And I've been playing it back in my head, and now I know in the future, if that were to happen, I'd be like, don't you ever do that to me again or something like that. But I was so stunned because I never fathomed that someone would jump behind me in the revolving door. And then it kicked back all those things. I'm a victim. I'm not, like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, man, I thought I was over this. And I was completely like, you just going to be in a revolving door? But he was. There was this white guy actually was in the same, and those things are not big. They're not made for two people. Two people can get in there, obviously, but they're not made for two people. And that means he's like all up on my backside, So anyway, that happened. And then, so my code is not to help white people like many other people's code is on the cows. No, that's not my job to help white people. I told you all I was in a group. I'm still in the group, unfortunately, and how the white male terrorist decided he wanted to try to cry and I was going to feel sympathy. That's not happening. So then the teacher made us switch tables, and I shared that I had picked a table with all non-white people, 2 black people and a so-called, well, he's like his Latino or whatever. And so then she switched it all up. And then I got stuck at a table with 2 white female terrorists and a white guy. And so, like, I'm just there, and I'm just like, whatever. And I like math, so I pay it like I'm getting it. And so we were working. I got the answers. The white people didn't get it. And so the white teacher comes, and she's like, oh, well, you should share your wisdom. And I looked up and like, nah. No, I don't owe no white person anything. And I didn't help them. They asked me for my help, and I just act like I didn't. I just played it. I don't even know how to tell you in a codified way that I did it. I just looked up and was like, oh, I don't have the right answer, and went back to doing my work, even though I did. And happened again today. But no, I'm not. All the black people, like the black people in the class, I will come before class. I'll stay after class. I will try my hardest if they are really invested in understanding the information to help them understand. White people are not getting anything from me. And then I'll tell you, so I was at work, and I got a recording, but you really can't hear him because it really wasn't as bad as the last time. But I was very satisfied because I knew what was happening when it was happening. So I worked the overnight. He comes, he walks past the desk. He says hello. No, he says like, good evening or something like that. And I looked up and I said hello. And then he starts mumbling to himself and he says stuff like, oh, Christ, Jesus Christ, like, you know, to show his disgust with me. So I was like, oh, okay, because he had his dog with him. And I was like, all right, well, you're going to end up coming back anyway. So I had my recorder, like, ready, you know, because I knew it wasn't going to end. He didn't get the reaction he wanted, all the, you know, petting that white people really need from us. I didn't give it to him, so he wasn't happy. And so when he came back, I knew he was going to do it. He walked right up to the desk, and I just looked at him. And he said, hello. And I said, do you need something? And I had practiced that, actually. Let me tell you that I do take Gus's advice very seriously. And he's always talking about practicing things. So I had already practiced what my two responses were going to be, and it was going to be whichever one came out. Do you need something, or how can I help you? Like, there's nothing else to talk about. So even if you say, so what's your name? Do you need something? How long you been working here? How can I help you? Do you need something? How can I help you? That's all that matters until you leave my desk, or the desk that I sit at. It's not mine, but the desk that I sit at. So he comes back, sure enough, comes right up to the desk. Comes right up to the desk, and he's like, hello. I look up, do you need something? And he's like, oh, I just want to say hello again. I said, okay. And I just stared. That was my other codified response, like, unless you have a question or a specific need, I'm not going to be volunteering any information or placating or being polite or being extra courteous or making conversation. I'm not doing that. That's another way I feel like white people are vampires on me personally, on like all black people, but I feel it for me. I'm looking at you. If you need something, I'm more than happy to be professional, get you what you need, assist you in whatever way I can. That is my job. That is what I get paid to do, to make you feel good, to give you something to do or someone to talk to, or so you can feel above me because I'm not human and you're white and whatever. No, we're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? So another one of my practiced codified responses is silence. And that's what I gave him. And he walked away from that desk after I said nothing, again, talking to himself about the nigger at the front desk who is just, you know, whatever. But I was very happy with how that ended. I wish I could have, like, played it for you, but you wouldn't be able to hear it. So I'll just say to anybody else out there, if you're like me, like, I'm real committed to not being further traumatized and incapable of dealing with it. So there's a lot of good information on the cows, and the workplace racism is, like, super fantastic. So take advantage of the advice. That's it. Thanks.
Context of white supremacy. Practice, definitely encourage that. It can be very helpful and just make it very smooth. When racist white people do what they do, you already know what you're going to say. You've practiced it. It'll just flow right out. The number again, 641-715-3640. The code is 564-943#. Press star 6 if you would like to participate. One quick thing on the revolving door. The context of white supremacy. We've been doing workplace racism so long. We have had epic stories involving racism and revolving doors. This goes back like years, like before we even had the individual workplace racism segment on Thursdays. Thomas in New York, he was at work, and I don't know if he's listening to that, but man, oh man, he was at work. He was going through the revolving door, and this white guy sped up to go through. Now, I don't think he was trying to get in the same little like compartment as Thomas, but he wanted to go through when Thomas pushed the door. And I think he emphasized that the revolving door, it's big, it's heavy, it takes, some effort to push and make the door rotate. So the white guy was going to try to get a free ride and just hop in when Thomas went through the revolving door. And the white guy, Thomas, he pushed it really fast. He saw that this was going to happen, right? Anticipating the white guy was going to do this. So he pushed the revolving door really fast. And the, the white guy, he tried to rush to get in, and he ended up catching his shoulder on the side, and he dropped his iPhone and broke it. I think he tried to say it was like a brand new iPhone. So he drops his iPhone, breaks it, and he tries to get Thomas to pay for it. He like goes to Thomas's white boss and is like, the nigger didn't, hold the door and he needs to pay for my new iPhone. He hurt my shoulder and all of this, and he had to use some counter-racism code to stop it there, and then it escalated again. It just became epic with the revolving door. So, and I'm sure some people that, if you've been listening to the 8 years, I know Thomas in New York, if he's on the line, I know he remembers. He can tell us, he can tell you the details, because this was epic. It just went on and on and on, this guy trying to get Thomas to pay for his phone. So the gist of all that being, white people are going to do what they do. Dogs bark, birds chirp, white people practice racism. So even when, and I think about this, this is, moment to moment, what does it mean to be white? That means every individual that you suspect could be classified as white, this could be a moment of racism. So even on the job, when I'm going in the door, I'm going to be conscious of that. If they have revolving doors or whatever it is, this could be a moment, where they choose to not open the door. And I think there are many instances of workplace racism that happen just at the entrance. I think Cynthia McKinney in Congress, they had, I guess you have to show your ID when you go through the entrance. And I think either she didn't have it or something, but that ended up being a big melee that involved racism with, she alleged that was a part of the treatment. I've seen tons of cases, judges going through the entrance at the courthouse. I think it was a black judge. Same thing where, they said they didn't recognize him or he didn't have his badge on. And, the black person said they felt that racism was being practiced. So, you really have to be aware, even going through the entrance at your job, you need to be aware. This could be a moment where a white person chooses to practice racism. Other folks that are on the line, if you have either observations, questions, you want to share your own commentary, line should be open. Feel free.
Hello.
Yes. I heard both of you. I guess we'll get the vote dialer. Kay?
Yes, hi. I just wanted to respond to, is it Mr. Steele? I'm sorry to hear of his situation, and I'll lift him up in prayer, and that God provides a way of escape in reference to that situation. Thank you.
Ashe. The other female caller who dialed in, who spoke simultaneously, did you have commentary?
Good evening, may I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Gus, and to all the callers and listeners. I wanted to share my observations at the law firm that I have been working at for almost a year. I had my first official performance review last week, and it was pretty interesting. The office manager had me rate my performance on a couple of different items, I guess, on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being like exceeding expectations and 1 being, like poor performance. And so the 2 attorneys that I support rated my performance. I was to rate my performance, and then the office manager, she does a rating. And so for the most part, well, I think on all of them, I put 4s for each category as far as my attitude, attendance, it was just like different categories that you give yourselves a rating. And I rated 4s on all of them. The attorneys that I support, 1 rated all 5s, and then there's a non-white, one of the attorneys is a white man, and then the other attorney, he's a non-white male. He's classified as like Chaldean, Arab, and he rated me with all 4s. And then the office manager, who was a white female, she gave me all 5 ratings, and she was just saying, oh, you're being so modest, and I think that, you're doing a great job. And she was just couldn't understand why I was, not giving myself all 5s. I thought that was pretty interesting. Then she wanted to offer me some suggestions, because she said, oh, I think you're doing an awesome job here. Everyone seems to like you. Everything so far just great. And I just see so much, advancement possibly with you in this firm. And I'm just listening to her like, whatever, just let's get through with this. And so the suggestions that she gave me was for me to be more social, because I don't go to lunch. I'm always being asked to go to lunch by the other female secretaries and support staff, and that's one thing I do not do. I use my lunch breaks and any breaks I have to, be to myself. But she wanted to make sure she stressed that I should be more social. She also suggested that I sit in the lunchroom. She also suggested that I participate more in our meetings and give a little bit more feedback, because I do go to the meetings and I'm taking notes. I'm trying to find out, what information I need to have that's going to assist me to perform my job, and that's it. But I don't offer feedback. I don't make any commentary. I don't say anything. I'm just a warm body sitting in the seat, and I'm listening. But she wanted to stress that I should participate more. So I'm just noticing that the more, and again, I'm very courteous, I'm very friendly when, someone speaks to me, but I just stay to myself. But I notice that really makes white people uncomfortable. And so outside of my entire performance review, all of these 5s that I'm getting, that is what concerned her, the fact that I'm quiet, once again, the fact that I don't sit in the lunchroom, the fact that I'm not socializing. So I just thought that was interesting, and I made notation of that. The second thing that I wanted to bring out is one of the, there's quite a few people that smoke cigarettes in this firm. And there's, I looked in the manuals, and I'm so glad that you stressed for us to read our handbook. And I noticed they have quite a few people that smoke cigarettes, and they take an just ridiculous amount of smoke breaks. And this one, the female that works next to me, the white female, she's the one who brought in her Donald Trump calendar I had mentioned a few weeks ago, where she takes just literally over 20 breaks a day. I don't see how she gets any work done, but I always make note that she's always gone away from her desk, not there. And so I'm like, well, what is the smoking policy? Like, what do they have a policy? And I looked in the handbook, and it's really interesting because it says that if we're a smoke-free building, employees who wish to smoke may do so outside of the office, no more than 15 feet from the entrance, only during designated break times. Cigarettes should be disposed of properly and not thrown on the ground. And that is it. That's the only thing they say about smoke breaks. And there's supposed to be designated break times, and we have no designated break times. They just go outside whenever they feel like it. They are gone for 20 to 30 minutes, maybe 10 to 15 times a day, literally, after they have their morning coffee, after they turn on their computer, after they go to the restroom. They're always just constantly taking smoke breaks. And I'm noticing, like, it's just interesting to me that this is something that's not an issue for the most part. However, today, the white female, she had her performance review, and she was, complaining about the fact that she got reprimanded because of the amount of smoke breaks that she takes. And she kind of came back to her desk and was like, anyway, I'm going to smoke. So even though she, kind of got reprimanded, it wasn't a write-up. It wasn't anything that was a big deal. And she went to take a smoke break. I thought that was interesting. And the last thing I'll share is that we had 6 clerks, like filing clerks in the firm. Out of the 6, 4 of them were black females, and 1 was a white female, and all 4 of the black females walked off. They walked off, and before they left, they quit. One of them came up to me. She was just like, I want to tell you bye. I really like working here with you, but, we don't like how we're being treated. We don't like the fact that, there's a lot of racism in this firm, and we just don't want to take it no more. And so I was just kind of like, I guess, just proud that they stood up for themselves, because I did hear a lot of complaining, and I did notice a lot of mistreatment of black clerks, and they did walk off. They just couldn't take it anymore, and they found themselves other jobs and kind of left the firm hanging. So that's what I wanted to share. And I'm mute my line.
That's black self-respect, right on. Are you going to start, based on your evaluation, are you going to start eating with the other folks during lunchtime?
Absolutely not.
Dang.
Absolutely not.
Dang. Dang. That is one thing I will share, and thank you for sharing that, because that's a pattern that I've noted when we are asked on jobs to give a self-evaluation, where it seems a pattern is that we are kind of modest in our self-evaluation. That's something that I think we should not do in the context of the work environment. Like, humility is great in counter racism and dealing with other black people, but I think when we're on these racist jobs, that is not a place where we should be humble with regards to how we evaluate ourselves. If I'm remembering correctly, one of our black female listeners in the Wisconsin area, she had a self-evaluation, and I think it was like very high, moderate, low, very low. I think that was the scale. And I think she had like high or moderate or what have you. And I was saying, why, because I think she had dealt with sexual abuse on the job too. And I was like, hey man, it should be very high in some of these areas, because you've had to deal with a lot of stress and have still done your job well. So I think for black people, with all of the stress, and you're in an environment where people are walking off the job because of racism, so you're in a very toxic environment, I think it should be, hey, great, I am outstanding. I mean, you can be honest, and if there are areas where you want to work on and get better, but I think we should not be honest on those jobs. And then a lot of times too, you'll have at least one white person that does not like you. So if they get a say so, you already know that's going to be one where you're going to have lots of low marks, lots of, twos, maybe even ones, zeros. We need to get rid of them right now. So that's one thing I would encourage us on the job, like really be a strong advocate for yourself, like no modesty. Boom, I'm getting high marks. I am a victim of racism. I have to tolerate you racists 40 hours a week or whatever my schedule is. I am not going to be modest. I am really going to make sure that I sell myself well. That's something I think we should make a part of the black self-respect counter-racist work code. Yeah, that's all I want to say. Other folks, if you had commentary, questions, if you want to share your own thoughts, feel free.
Can I be heard?
Yes, Roz.
Greetings to you, Gus. I can't agree with you more. No modesty. We are suffering. We're abused. We're getting it from every angle possible with these beasts. So, yes, every opportunity you get that where you can help yourself, do so to the furthest extent possible. I also agree. Gus talked about this recently, too. And it's something that I practice is, making sure that if I am really treated well by a black person and I have a great experience with them, that I let their manager know about that, whether it's through a write-up, whether it's completing a survey after the call is over, or writing a note to someone and I ask them for their supervisor's information and write them a note. Whatever it is, I will do that. So I agree emphatically that can be have a very powerful effect sometimes on how situations can play out on the job, so I definitely agree with that. Some of my workplace observations, first was there was because I dropped off at one point in the call and I called back a while later, but there was a black female earlier who discussed she was getting touched on the job and she wanted to know how to deal with that. And first I would say to go to your company's manual and look up the sexual harassment policy. and see if it specifically describes unwanted touching, because just about every job that I've worked, when I looked at the sexual harassment policy, unwanted touching is spelled out in plain letters. And once you find that, I would approach the person and ask them to stop. If they continue, then if you have a meeting where you all get together, I would ask, without calling the person out by name or exposing them, but I would ask, what is the sexual harassment policy in regards to unwanted touching? I just think everybody should be made aware of that, so that there's no issues moving forward, or whatever the case may be, so that person doesn't feel like you're calling them out. Yet they would, of course, be of the understanding, since you've already told them you don't want them touching you, that you're asking that for a reason, so that everybody present will understand what's going on. And then from there, see what takes place. And if so, then I would move forward with, some sort of dealing with HR in regards to being mistreated. But I would record any and every conversation I have with that person regarding the unwanted touching, because white people are liars, and you're in retail, and white people in retail are probably better liars, because they're usually just not the greatest white people as far as their character. Not that any of them have character as far as I'm concerned, but some of the ones with the worst character traits tend to work in retail and work in situations where they're dealing with people face to face, because they get to be abusive in ways that they might not be in another setting. So I would definitely do that and record every conversation I have. Even if I had to go to HR, I'll record that conversation. Whatever conversations you have with that person, I'll record that, and just keep a record of everything. And there's a very cheap USB drive you can get on Amazon for $11, and it records up to 13 hours of conversation, so you can even record your entire workday if you wanted to. And if there's anything that happens that you wish to save, you can also edit it to the place that you need and keep those recordings. Keep just a running tally of those recordings, so if something comes up, you can go right to that audio and let them hear the person in their own words. Or if that woman tries to lie on you and say that you were rude to her, or tries to flip it and says that you did something to her, you have the conversation to prove that this person is a liar. So I just wanted to put that out there for you. And I wish you the best, because any touching by those vampiric beasts is something you don't want. I had a similar situation, actually, that I was going to discuss. There was a person who called for some assistance. I work in health insurance. And she was a white racist, an older white racist, and ultimately she had called multiple providers and facilities for different medical services, and she was told, from what she said, she was told that all of those providers, there was a total of about 6 of them, did not take our company's insurance. And we did have some issues where some providers were telling people that information and it was inaccurate, and we would have to have someone reach out to them in order to connect with the liaison that they have to make sure that their records are up to date and all of those things. And once that was taken care of, then the person would be able to call and set up their appointment and do whatever they had to do. So she called, and she had talked to 2 other coworkers of mine. One was a black female, the other was a Chinese male. And she complained about both of them from the very beginning. She just wanted to complain. She just started, the whole conversation started off with complaining. And she tried to be, quote unquote, nice to me on the phone, but yet she's complaining about my coworkers. And at the time, I didn't know that she had made racist statements against Asians and racist statements against black people. So I'm dealing with her, but before I got on the phone with her, I spoke to my Chinese coworker, who kind of explained the type of personality she is, because she was known to keep people on the phone for like an hour and 35 minutes. A pot. So every time she would call, somebody would be trapped on the phone, and it was those 2 people that I just discussed that ended up in those situations. So once they got an understanding for the personality type, then he wanted to explain so that I would be able to shorten the call. So I said, okay, cool. So once I get on the phone and she starts talking, so I'm pleasant or whatever, and she's trying to basically just complain, and then she got her husband, and they were tag teaming me on the phone. So I said, oh, well, I can't listen to 2 of you. I need to just get to the meat of what you're calling about so we can get this rectified. So she went on her spiel, repeating herself twice over. And I said, well, I'm not going for a third. I said, listen, I need to escalate these tickets to get these providers educated so that you can go get your medical care, because she was saying she couldn't get any medical care, and she hasn't had medical care since January, and she can't get doctor's appointments, and she's going on and on. So I said, the only way I can do that is when you're off of the phone. And I said, you've already explained yourself thoroughly the first 2 times, and I know exactly what I need to do. Now I need to basically release this call so I can facilitate this and get back to you in a timely manner. So all of the things that you called about can be rectified in one phone call. You can make your appointments, get your test done or whatever you need done, and you're good to go. And I got her off the phone within about 25 to 30 minutes. My coworkers were flabbergasted that I was able to do so. And that's when I found out that she was a racist, and I felt even better about it once I found out that she's white, so she's racist automatically, and I really don't give two hoots about any white person that I talk to on the phone. So, but when I realized that she actually was overtly racist, I felt even better about it, that I shut her down the way I did, because I don't like white people. The other incident happened after work. I'm traveling home from work, standing in Penn Station, New York, 34th Street, waiting for the train. And it's kind of crowded, and we're waiting in front of, there's a TV screen that has all of the different trains that are coming and what times they're arriving and which trains are boarding or whatever the case may be. So I'm standing as close as possible because I have some vision issues, so I stand really close to the monitor, but far back enough that other people that are crowding around can see. So people are going to catch their trains, and there's this short white guy with a backpack, and I'm up against the wall. So I lean over to kind of see the screen because I'm literally up against the wall, so I'm as far out of the way as possible, but close enough that I can see what I need to see so I can catch the train once they post it. So when he sees me lean, I guess somewhere in his Neanderthal mind, he thought that I was inviting him to try and squeeze past me so he can catch his train. So then he says, "Excuse me." And I said, okay. So I moved as far as I can go to my right to give him room to get by, and there wasn't enough room. So I was hoping he would have the common sense and his Neanderthal brain to see that he wouldn't be able to get through that small space. But no, he does what Neanderthal white people do. He tries to push past me. So as he does, I just kind of pivot and turn, and then I shove him through. And he turns around. I said, "Don't you ever touch me." I said, "You should have gone the other way like anyone else with sense would have done." But I said, "Don't you ever touch me." And I shot him the look of death. And he just kind of shrugged his shoulders, turned his little red beaded white supremacist face around, and went to catch his train. He didn't want any parts of me. And I was like, that's fine, because I'm not going to have it. And I don't have it from you white people. So thanks for listening to my workplace incidents. White people are terroristic. Keep your sanity, keep your health, and don't tolerate nonsense from white people. Thank you, and I'll mute my line.
Ashe. Wow. Those commutes, man, I talked about that. The terrorism continues. That is, in my view, that is a part of workplace racism, what happens on the commute to and from work. In fact, even racists making the commute, 3 hours in some cases, where they make it so that non-white people have to go a tremendous distance from their residence to get to some place where they can make a few coins. How many ever coins racists will allow. Other folks who have dialed in that we have not heard from, if you have commentary, if you'd like to share your own situation, or if you have comments about what we've heard thus far, feel free to dial in. Folks who we have not heard from at all, feel free.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Gus. Good evening, listeners. This is my second time calling, and I'm so excited that we're doing this show tonight on workplace racism. And I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. I live in the city of Houston, and I work for the medical center, Houston Methodist. And today, in representation of Black History Month, the hospital decided to have a dinner today. On the menu, they had a special menu that they had in the cafeteria just for Black History Month today. And they decided, as a representation of Black History Month, they had oxtails. So today they had oxtails in the hospital for, a Black History Month, celebrating Black History Month. And I just thought it was very odd, that they could have picked any other thing, but they decided to pick oxtails. So I went down to the cafeteria today to get some water. I didn't even know they had oxtails today on the menu. And when I went down to the cafeteria, Black people was in line arguing over oxtails. It was so bad that they had HPD, the police department, actually standing in the entrance of the cafeteria just in case something happens. I mean, you had black people in line arguing over oxtail, how they got low, they didn't get enough meat, there was too much fat on that oxtail. People were so angry, they started arguing with the food attendants who was working behind the counters, serving different plates. And so I just thought it was kind of odd. And I went and got me a salad. And I was talking to this older lady who's been working in the cafeteria for a long time, and she told me, she said, "Baby, I've been here for 20 years. You know, we used to have oxtail at least once a month." She said the hospital stopped serving oxtail because two black women got into a physical altercation over oxtail. So the hospital actually stopped serving oxtails, and they actually brought it back today, just for a Black History Month. And I just thought it was very odd that they served slave food for Black History Month, and nobody pay any attention to it. And, you know, I'm learning now not to talk down to other black people, because we are all victims of race supremacy. So I'm learning over time not to even talk negative about my people. But it was very hurtful to see black people, I mean, intelligent, educated black people, nurses, art, I mean, just different from all walks of careers, I mean, who was in line, and the line was so long, people was literally arguing over oxtails. And I just thought it was so crazy to me. And I mean, I just thought it was so weird, you know, and it just happened today, and I was like, wow, that's the oddest thing. Of all the meals they could have chose, why did they choose oxtail? And people wasn't even offended by that. I'm going to go ahead and mute my line. Thanks for accepting my call, Gus.
This is our caller in the Bay Area mailed me this week, and I have visual proof. He took a photograph. So this is from the Bay Area, Black History Month. In celebration and recognition of Black History Month, you are invited to the following exciting events. Tuesday, February 21st, Soul Food Special in the cafeteria includes chicken, greens, mac and cheese, and your choice of either peach cobbler or fountain drink. Now, this was the Black History Month here, so we have chicken, greens, and macaroni and cheese, or oxtails. That is Black History Month 2017, at the end of the Obama era. And for this person, it went on to say that on Wednesday, February 22nd, authentic African attire, garments, and jewelry will be on display in the lobby during lunch, not the whole day. Thursday, February 23rd, guest speaker Dominique Jarrell will be bringing his road show to us from 12 to 2 p.m. in the lobby. I don't know who this is. Friday, February 24th, a movie will be on display in room 505 from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. They don't list the movie. I'm going to find out what the movie is and report that back on the compensatory call-in. I'm just curious to see what it's going to be, like The Help, Hidden Colors, like what is the movie going to be for the 2-hour period on Friday. But that's about tacky, trashy, terroristic. That is about as good as it gets. Oxtails. Other folks that we have not heard from have commentary, workplace racism.
Hello? Can I be heard? Oh, sorry.
Let's get our female caller in the Bay Area first.
Hi, thank you. Okay, workplace racism. So I work at the hotel. Can you hear me? Let me take it off the speaker. I might be a little amplified. Sorry about that. So, I work at the hotel. I have a Caucasian manager, Caucasian district manager. Everyone else is non-white except for one housekeeper. But she stole a lot of products and kept calling in and just quit. So we're there. It's everyone's black. Maybe 2-3 Spanish people, Spanish-speaking people from wherever. So our manager went on leave of absence, but before she went on leave of absence, maternity leave, she brought in this some form of Asian. This Asian lady from another store. She really asked her, "Could you come to my store? Could you come to my store?" Because she didn't want anyone coming in from another site, seeing how trifling our site is. So the girl, she transferred to our site, and before she did, she kept her with her. She looks like she might be the same nationality of whomever she's having her children with, whatever form of Asian this is. And so she keeps her with her and makes sure come over here. Don't mingle with them. Come over here. So she basically trained her how to deal with us via her. So instead of her dealing, she's on leave of absence, but she still texts her and calls her, comes down and has lunch with her. And the Asian lady, I guess one of the housekeepers, black housekeepers, were getting into it with our general manager. And because she doesn't have any people skills, she's very disrespectful. She's just completely out of control and very dominant. She's just a jerk. And she treats us like we're beneath her. And that's basically how she treats us. She doesn't treat me like that, but I don't allow her. But I'm sure when I leave, it's whatever. She looks for ways to, she finds things to nitpick at, and I just, I always make sure I read the handbook. I always try to follow the instructions of the company. So I don't really worry about her, but she really terrorizes the people that she spends the most time with. So her and the Asian girl are in the back where there's no cameras, and they're talking about us. And so the Asian lady's like, don't you wish you can just beat them into submission and make them listen? And so the other Asian guy heard her, and she's just looking like, oh, instead of folding towels, you guys are talking about how you're going to make us submit? And because he told me, because I relieved him. So the lady leaves. The guy quits. The lady leaves. The Caucasian lady leaves. The guy that quit is, that's her, whomever she's sleeping with or having these children with, that's his cousin. So he tells us how she just effeminizes him and mistreats him, and all day there she just calls and argues, and it's just crazy. So she pops up at our site and has lunch with the Asian lead, and nothing is getting done as far as anything constructive. Everything is just a mess. The whole motel is disarrayed. It's dirty. It's just a mess. So they're out having lunch. The Asian lady brought a black girl in from another site to come work there with her, and gave her all the hours, took hours from the other people that were there. Even a person that was there before me took her hours. She was supposed to be lead black girl. Now, they used the breaks out of her to do all this stuff, thinking that she was going to be some kind of lead. The manager never trained her. So I asked the girl, I said, if you're not being trained for this position, what makes you think you're going to get the position? I said, stop killing yourself to work here thinking you're going to get a position they took away. I was like, did you know they took the position away so you wouldn't get it? And so she's, no, well, and she's believing in the Caucasian lady until she brought the Asian lady in. So the Asian lady brought her friend in and took everybody's hours, so she's getting like over 40 hours. So even though the girl, she's black, but she's real heavy set, and she doesn't do a lot of work. So nobody really gets along with the people that just came in, so now they're hiring in new people. You guys better watch your job because we're hiring this new Mexican man, and you better watch your job. So now the district manager and the tenant, residents, because sometimes people stay extended leave, their apartments are getting repaired, they're complaining about the cleanliness and the staff, and there's never enough supplies, and no one's ever at the front desk. They're complaining about whatever. So this one lady found the vice president and sent this information to him. So I'm not there in the daytime, but we're supposed to have this audit, but we never had it. So the manager they cut the girl that thought she was going to be lead, the black girl, cut her hours maybe to 3 days a week to give to the other girl. So the girl sent a message to everybody except me because I work at night saying, if you don't put my hours back, I'm quitting. So they took her off the schedule, and so someone sent her a copy of that. And so she said, our manager came in, and mind you, she's supposed to be on leave, but she just pops in acting like she's picking up a baby shower gift, and said, who sent Lori a copy of the schedule? And then she this other black girl just kind of shook her around a little with words, and then she asked her again who sent her a copy, and then she said, I sent it. And she said, oh. So she runs the schedule through our manager that's on leave versus the one that's over everything. So now the manager that's over everything, because nothing has changed and there's still complaints, is bringing in another manager. And I don't know what they're going to do with our manager, but everybody's in an uproar as far as morale because there's no real management. And then the lead that's there, she's just there. She doesn't do any work. They're so lazy. They're just pointing once around. The place is nasty. So she wrote a note. Clean the break room. The break room hasn't been cleaned since I've been working there. I did an interview and the break room wasn't clean. So clean up, because now everyone's on us about cleaning up. And so it's like, well, even if you don't want to wash your dishes, put them where I work so I can wash them. So I get there last night, and I see these dishes that's been in the break room for a month back there with me, coffee pots full of coffee back there in a bucket. You didn't have even common courtesy to pour the coffee up first and put it back there for me. So I washed the dishes, but I made a note. And I said, wash your own dishes. So I put a dish rack back there and some dishwashing liquid to the sink back there. And I was like, I am not the help. So don't bring your dishes for me. Wash your own dishes. They should never come where I am. So we'll see what happens with that when I get there tonight. But that's my workplace racism, and thank you for taking my calls.
Wow. That is such a toxic environment. Like you shared about being there before and the safety concerns and just the treacherous things that happened. Them just taking, this black females' hours, just snatching them to give away. I mean, man, like I would really strive as best you can. I mean, I know it's just going to a different plantation, but I would definitely be making sure to keep my options open as for an escape route to get out of that situation. I just know so many times racists, they make it so tough to be able to find a stable employment so that we can take care of ourselves, particularly once you have children and things and it's difficult to move around as much. They make it so difficult, but that sometimes we can end up being in these work situations that are extremely toxic and thinking just, hey, if I can just hang on and be here for maybe a month and then find something else, and then a month ends up, turning into 2 years. Like really make sure that you're on the lookout aggressively to see when you can get out of there, because that just, man, everything that we've heard about it is just way over the top traumatic in so many ways, and unsafe, I think, because we've talked about that before too, having to deal with these whites, the patrons who are intoxicated and violent and racist and everything else. Other folks that we have not heard from, if they're folks that we have not heard from at all, if you have a hand up, feel free. Line should be open.
Yes, may I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Greetings to you, the host, the callers, and the listeners. I was listening to some of the callers talk about the individuals who classify as white violating their personal space and or threatening to violate their personal space or their person and their person. I think Mr. Ken Steele spoke on someone threatening him, and then a lady spoke on someone touching her, and she didn't want that advancement. I would say in those situations, you definitely always want to protect your person. You always want to protect your space. You always want to defend your space. So tell black men of anybody who has threatened your space or has already violated your space. Point them out. It should be known if somebody violates you. Just like any crime, it's made public. So if somebody is committing a crime against you, is committing a crime against your person, and violating your space, then you should tell some black men about, this problem. And then for the lady, somebody is touching you inappropriately. Well, if it were my sister, what I would do, she would have told me. I'm a black man in her life. I would show up to the job. I would walk her from the door to my car, let everybody know that I'm the black man present. I will engage to some degree the individual who has violated her. And I think that, it doesn't need to get out of hand, but still there needs to be known that there is a presence, there's a black male presence, and we don't accept our space being violated. So that's one thing I wanted to say. And also, I heard the program yesterday, and that was really an awesome program. And I work in churches a lot of times, so I'm currently working at a church. And I'm just very excited to share that information. So, again, thank you for the program. Thank you.
Oh, for sure. For sure. What when you say, you would approach if a white person in a job situation, like what was presented, a white person touched your sibling or your wife, someone that you care about, they reported to you, this white person physically violated me, they, touched me on the job after I told them repeatedly not to do this, and they continue to do it anyway. You said where you would approach the person, and it doesn't have to get, violently out of control or anything like that, but you would just make it known that your presence is there. What would you say, like, specifically?
Yes, I muted myself. I would just very specifically say hello. I wouldn't tell you who I was. It's not necessary. It doesn't matter who I am. You need to know that I know that person. So I would say, hello, please do not touch this individual unnecessarily. Don't touch my wife unnecessarily. Don't touch my sister unnecessarily. You need to know that I'm telling you very directly, don't touch them. So that's what I would say. Or if I thought that would get violent, I would just approach the boss, whoever owns the place, and tell them the situation, and that I would tell them that I will either I would ask them to invite me, or you need to deal with it directly, and I need to get a response. That's what I would say. Yes, sir.
I don't want. Dig that. I do think there are probably some workplace situations where you might not have easy access to the white person in charge. I do know they have security, right, in some workplace settings. So maybe you get access to that white person, maybe you don't. Other folks that dialed in who have questions, comments, if you want to.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got that. How y'all doing? I was listening. I haven't called in a while, but there's some things that I've heard tonight that I want to bring up, especially about the evaluation that whites give us. You have to, always remember that's one slick way that white people try to get rid of black people is through those evaluations. They'll give you evaluation and try to mark you down in an area. And the best weapon, your best defense against that, because I've been through this, before, and white folks on my job, I haven't gotten an evaluation in 10 years. They always try to practice racism against me. But what I always do is I always ask questions, and all my evaluations, they end up being destroyed. Every time a white person would give me a bad evaluation, this is what you always say to them. And, you go to them and they say, okay, you evaluated me the whole year. Why are you giving me a bad evaluation now and you didn't say anything earlier? And I always ask them, what suggestion or plan did you give me to indicate that I was doing bad in an area? And that would stop them right then in the tracks, I put that in there, and then when that evaluation goes to higher ups, all my evaluations have disappeared. And another thing too, you always got to remember about, like I said, about evaluation. They try to, like I said, they try to be sneaky. If they give you enough of those, and you don't respond to anything negative, it can build up and they can get rid of you. And there's something else too. I was reading years ago on a job. Even with when you're around white people, you don't really want to isolate yourself. What I always do, another weapon, is to try to get knowledge from these white people on what's going on with other white people. You go. I don't mean to hang out with them on your lunchtime or after work. You're walking the white person and say, hey, whatever happened to such and such? What is such and such doing? The white people give you information. It's valuable information you might need, in case, they practice racism and you have to go, and file a charge or something against the people. And also, too, I think maybe other people have experienced this. One thing that I've always experienced on the job is I always think it's interesting how some of the white people, that are racist, they'll see you in the hall and they always give you that old phony smile or that old fake grin. And it's like, it's like, say hi or something, but they just look at you, that phony grin, that smirk they give you. I'm like, yeah, right. And I just keep it moving. And also, too, let's see, what else did I have? Oh, yeah, I guess the lady was talking about earlier about her evaluation. She was saying, oh, you need to be more sociable and all this like this. If that were me, if a supervisor said that to me in a meeting where I was being evaluated, I would say, well, how is that going to give me a raise and a promotion? I said, well, if I start eating, I said, well, first of all, this is my free time. I could, I don't want to, I want to do other things. You don't even have to be at the office on your lunch or free time. I always remind them, how is that going to give me a pay raise and a promotion? I say, well, like you gave the other people. I just ask them that question, point out blank, because, on my job, and this is what happened on my job. They had a job. It was I think it was for a manager's position. Now, a black manager, and this is one thing I want to bring up. They would have a black manager. This one black manager they had. He retired. Now, the position he had, people of color, minorities, it was for environmental justice, stopping, whites from polluting black neighborhoods. Now, when he retired, they gave that was I think about a six-figure job. They wouldn't give that job to any black person. They gave it to a white person. And I brought that up then. I told other blacks, all of us are qualified. So why did they give that job to a white person when any one of us? And I said, look at all these promotions they gave to white people, and none of us got anything. Even a job that says minority, that has to deal with minorities, they didn't even give that to us. I said, that should tell you something there. And I think, what's the last thing I had? Hold on. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I had. That's like I said earlier, like I said a few shows ago, always write down everything you do on these jobs. Oh, yeah, and another thing, too, always talk to other if there are other people of color on the job, talk to them. And, if they're receptive, because a lot of times they go through the same thing. And that, too, the more knowledge you get about these people on the job, about racism, the better off you are, when you know what white person is what white person's friend, or what they're doing to other people of color that are classified as non-black, Indian, or non-black, non-white, Hispanic. yeah, always, if you can, always get information from them and see how they're treated. Because when they start, discriminate against you, 9 times out of 10, some people might, they might try to help you or say something too. All right, that's all I had, and I'll leave my line.
Thank you kindly for sharing, sir. Are there other folks that we have not heard from at all who had commentary? Other people that we have not heard from at all? Was that?
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Greetings to Gus, the host, the listeners and callers. I have a few observations from the past couple of weeks. We got one transfer and a new hiree is a black male, and I'm not quite sure of the behavior patterns of the person, but I definitely made sure that I was going to start out being very courteous and very constructive in how I interact with the person. So everything's pretty much going smoothly so far. I told him in front of everyone, I said, I wish you well in all of your endeavors and everything, on your job and your position. People seem to be, I guess, maybe a bit surprised, but it seemed to be received well within the area that I said it. And the next one was there was a transfer. It was a black female, and the black female who got fired last time, she pretty much took her place. And the other black female who didn't get the lead position, she was pretty much off today, and the white woman was pretty much upset because she didn't know how to do her job because the black female took the day off. So, I found that profound, and it's like she need her there to complete her job, but yet she's a so-called supervisor. So I found that out by asking questions. And the next incident was there was a customer that came in, and it was a black male, and he was pretty much, I guess you can say, complimenting my white coworker, the female, on her curly hair, I guess. And he was so fixated on it, saying, "Your hair is just so pretty." And then, when he left, she was telling me, she said, you know what, I get that all the time. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but she was saying I get that all the time. I don't know if that means from black males or just males in general, or maybe females. So that was one small encounter. The next was there was another female that used this phrase. Like, I know we talk about metaphors, and she says something's going to mess up if they throw a monkey wrench into it. So, I've looked up that term, and I think it may have a white supremacist connotation to it. I could be incorrect, but, I pretty much recorded that, kept that in my mind. And she was pretty much saying things like, I think, thank you, Jesus, and stuff. But she threw that in there. So, whatever that was supposed to mean. And there was another incident where I was walking into to do my courier route around 3:00, and somebody was saying, "Oh, just the person I was talking about." And so she said, "Well, we got some honey buns downstairs," and because this person, because I already knew what she was trying to do. She was basically inviting me to go downstairs and get some, some honey bun snacks, because she pretty much restocks the vending machines. So I guess they were already discussing on making me a candidate, to get these snacks. So I asked questions. I said, so what, they cost money? Are they free? She was saying, well, no, they're free. So then I asked, like, why and how are they free? Why are they free? And then, by this time we was in front of, a couple of white people. So, like I boldly asked. And then she says, "Oh well, because she ain't say the word I was expecting. We just have to restock them." And then I says, "Well, does that mean that the date is expired?" And then she had to say yes. Like she couldn't hide from that. So she said yes, like it passed its expiration date. So she was basically trying to get me to eat expired foods. So I was thinking, like, man, should I share that? Like that could be a monumental act of white supremacy. So, and then the white woman that sat in the front, she was saying, yeah, I wouldn't eat that. And they were saying, well, some of the sheriffs, they got about 5 or 6 of them. I don't even know if that was true. So I went downstairs and I actually seen them piled up on the counter. They were due on 1/31/2017. It's the 23rd of February, so that's almost like a month. And I never really thought about that. So, yeah, I wanted to share that, and that's pretty much all I have for now. And thank you very much.
Asking questions. I'm such a big fan of that. That will generally take things where they need to go. If you ask enough questions, you ask the correct questions, even if you don't know the correct questions to ask. If you can just start asking some questions, if you ask enough, you will find out what you need to know about the situation. And that's typical in the workplace. I just say in general, like anything where whites are offering food in the workplace, I think the code should just be no thank you. Whatever excuse you need to make up. It's Ramadan. I'm on a diet. I got a doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, anything, whatever you need to make up. I just do not accept food from whites on the job. That way we can cut through whatever it is, because that's typical. What's going to be waiting on the other end? They offer you some pastries that expired like a month ago, and I'm supposed to be gleeful. I mean, come on, man. Come on. Like, that's just that tacky, trashy, and tearing. That sounds like it's a little bit of all three. To give you some expired honey buns from them, and then you got to go get them too. Like, they can't even bring. Like, come on, man, come on. That's the best we can do. I'm not going to the cafeteria either. I'm just going to sit in my office and do my work if that's the best that we can do. Other folk, and right on for congratulating the new hire. I think that's always great. I think black self-respect, when we can be courteous and encouraging to other victims of racism, and particularly even when you can do that publicly, like that is always awesome. Always awesome. Other folks anybody that we have not heard from at all, we have about a little less than 50 minutes left in the program. If we have not heard from you at all and you had commentary on workplace racism, you should speak up now.
May I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, this is Ari from Renton again. I would just like to share a couple things. I want to respond to the non-white male who said they would go to their wives or their siblings, like workplace, to respond to the suspected racist. I wouldn't recommend the black male going to the workplace. I would just put myself in that position because I fear for non-white males' lives just as much as I fear for mine. And I also do have security. They're the first ones to call the police. If they fear enough for my life or my safety or my well-being to come to my workplace, I think they would also tell me to think of other options, or just quit or find another workplace just to start over with these terrorists. Also, I would just like to share, last Friday I was terrorized by a suspected racist. She often comes to the house to visit her parents, so on this day before she arrived, a young black man knocked on the door and said he was there to see his grandparents. This is the first time I learned of this suspected racist having a non-white child. His mother came to visit her parents not too long after he came, like an hour or so. Like I said, this lady visits often, several times a week. every time she visits, she always gives me a hard time. She's standoffish and seems dissatisfied. And like within 10 minutes of her being there, I observed her child's demeanor change, the non-white male. She immediately sat down, didn't say anything, no hi, hello, or nothing. I also noticed, her son's demeanor changed, and before she came, he was talkative to his grandparents, talkative to me, and like right when the suspected racist walks in the door, he seemed to get a little weaker. Then she proceeded to look at her dad, who just had a fall, and he has like this big wound on his head. So she gets up and asks me if I have any supplies to change it, because she thought it needed to be changed. She was complaining about that. So I asked her if she was going to do it, and she told me, why can't you do it? I told her I'm not delegated to, change your dad's dressing, and she already knew that. Because in the state of Washington, you can't perform, I can't perform a nursing task unless a nurse has delegated me to do so. So at this point, like I said, she already knew I couldn't do it, and she seems annoyed, even though I could have easily gotten the supplies and quickly changed the dressing. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of that, because if something happened, she could easily turn it around on me and say I wasn't supposed to do that. So as I was going to get the supplies, like I said, this was like 10 to 15 minutes within her getting to the house. I was getting the supplies in another person's room, and this person, the room I walked in, he needed help to get into his wheelchair. So not even 2 minutes is she's knocking on the door asking me if I found Band-Aids. At this point, I'm kind of irritated because, like I said, I know when she walks in the door that she's just going to terrorize me. So she called my name again. This is the second time. Like, I think a minute has gone by. I'm just finishing up transferring the guy. So I grab the supplies and go out. And she's like, looks at the supplies and she's like, what are these? I asked for a Band-Aid. And this lady doesn't even know what to do or how to change a dressing. I'm showing her what she needed, which wasn't Band-Aids. It's obvious it wasn't a Band-Aid. We turn the corner and I see she went ahead and ripped the dressing off of her dad's head. That's why I assume she was knocking on the door hurriedly, trying to rush me out because he had blood gushing like all down his face. And so her son was trying to help his grandpa by just holding napkins to his face. And this is all like a 3 to 4 minute time frame. So he asked me to get the supplies, and that's when it got serious, the blood gushing out of the man's head. I just looked at her and I told her, you don't use Band-Aids. You have to spray this, put this on, and it was just crazy. It made me wonder how much she really cared for her dad, because it seemed pretty idiotic for somebody to do this. Something that I didn't want to be involved with, I ended up having to do because this lady just didn't even have the supplies. At the end of it, once we got them all cleaned up and everything, she tells me, next time, just walk me through it. I wasn't even given 4 minutes to do what she asked me to do, and she was just terrorizing. So anyways, thanks for listening.
Black self-respect and trying to make an effort to not help white people. We'll talk about that all the time. I was thinking the same thing too. Like, white people don't really, the thing that they value is practicing white supremacy. Not even about being in love or in like with even other whites, their own children or parents or whatever it is. That's, I think a lot of us have seen evidence of that. They're just about the business of dominating non-white people forever. But that sort of thing, I think, happens a lot on jobs as well, where we end up getting kind of pulled into other situations these are clearly not our duties, not what we're supposed to be doing. And we just get pulled into some white people's mess. And it's, a lot of times it'll be nothing we can do about it. Like in that sort of situation, it's like, oh my gosh, emergency, all hands on deck. We've got to hop in here and get this done. But yeah, and that seems like another one of those situations, either where it's just her callousness, where she just doesn't care, and just, as you said, just doing things that seem flagrantly wrong that you just would not do if you have any sense, and or the white incompetence where you told her what to do And she still seemed unable to follow those instructions. I think a lot of people have encountered that in workplace racism, even though this is not your colleague, obviously, but where white people just cannot seem to get it together. They're just so ignorant and so stupid that they gotta have the non-white person come in and get this done. I think that's just another part of the charade, the tackiness of white supremacy. And some of this, I think, as you stated, could just be callousness. But I also think that some of it just, I'll just mess it up to make this nigger woman have to come and, take care of dad. Because I think you said she was shoving you out of the room so she could go rip the Band-Aid off and all that. Like, yeah. Other folks that we have not heard from, anybody that we missed completely? Did we get everybody?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I just wanted to let people know, I know we're not supposed to go out to movies and stuff, and I'm not going to, but that movie, Get Out, I guess it's really popular, and I think it's coming out this weekend, so be careful. They might come to work talking about it on Monday. So, oh, did you see that movie? And blah, blah, blah. It was really interesting. The white people love it. And if you haven't seen the trailers, it's about this black guy, interracial couple. He goes to beat the white family, and this town is weird, and they, I guess, do bad things to young black men. So get ready for that conversation.
I would codify I haven't seen it, don't know what you're talking about. That way I'm just ignorant. I don't have anything to say about it because I didn't see it and don't know the trailers, don't know anything about it. Even better.
That's fine. Just be ready.
Right. Even better, my codified response for the job might even be, I don't go to the movies. That will end all future conversations. Be like, what? Yeah, I just don't do movies. Last time I went, people were being rowdy and loud, and it was just too much of a hassle. I just don't even do it anymore. Any folks, seems like we got everybody. If you have commentary that you think you want to share or provide, hang on one second. You should get a hand up before the last 5 minutes. If there's something that you think you want to share, you should go ahead and speak up now. The number is 641-715-3640, and the code is 564943#. Press *6 if you would like to participate. Mr. Steele, did you have commentary?
Okay. I just wanted to say something, I guess, peculiar happened to me, and this has happened to me in past workplace environments. I was earlier today, I was in the bathroom, and I was in a stall, and I didn't really, in my estimation, do anything in the stall that warranted me standing in line and washing my hands. Because there was a lot of people in the bathroom, and, there was 2 sinks, and, I just didn't really want to stand around, to pantomime washing my hands. Because, I really don't like washing my hands every single time I'm in the bathroom. It strips all the essence out of your hands, and it just it makes them very dry. So later that day, I guess I just stormed out of the bathroom. But later that day, my manager pulled me aside and said that we had to go to a separate room, and we went into a meeting room, and then he said, it's kind of not a big deal, but I heard from one of the other managers that you didn't wash your hands earlier today. And, that's funny because I didn't, I am always very cognizant. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I'm pretty cognizant of this feature of the workplace because in a previous workplace that I've been in, I got called out by my manager for doing the same thing, which was reported by another manager, which made me think, these people are watching you at all times. You could just be, I didn't really do anything in the stall that warranted the whole ritual of washing hands and everything like that. I didn't touch anything either, but nevertheless, and on top of that, there's a what is that? There's a hand sanitizer right there, and honestly, I'm just not that obsessed with sterility, and these people are, and they will know if you are not up on that code. So I'm just going to warn all my fellow victims of racism, white supremacy, that they are watching. And if you choose not to participate in the excessive hand washing ritual that goes on in these workplaces, I think you should just be mindful to pantomime having washed your hands. That's what I usually do. I failed to do so this one time, and I got a special meeting about it, and it was very awkward. And they're watching, so that's something that happened. Oh, and another thing that happened today that was very peculiar. I noticed one time earlier I was called out by my manager. I was called out by my manager for hoarding snacks. Sometimes they bring out snacks and they go really fast. So I gotta just move this. Anyway, so there's situations where basically I'm taking more snacks than I need at that particular time, and then I'm storing them in one of my file cabinets. I got called out by my manager that that's not allowed. Earlier today, I noticed he accidentally left one of his file cabinets open, and it was stock full of snacks. Not only does he, call me out for having too many snacks, he'll also make fun of me for eating snacks and not eating healthy. He I guess he's one of these MMA guys, and he's always talking about eating healthy, even though I'm in. Anyway, he basically was hoarding a lot of snacks. It was very awkward. I noticed this, and it was behavior that was directly contrary to something that I was told directly by him earlier. So I don't know. I think that may be these may be instances of workplace racism, and that's why I'm reporting them. Thank you.
Wow-wee, hand washing and snack hoarding. That is flagrant surveillance you got on your plantation. If anything, that just reinforces, I think, one of the main things that we say on the program all the time, that when you're on these jobs and what have you, that white people are watching you. That is, just hogwash, saying that white people are ignorant about racism. They're checking to see, he only used 2 drops of soap to wash his hands. And then going back and checking this, gee whiz, how many crackers am I allowed to take? Let's just get all the rules right now. How many snacks am I allowed? Okay. And the ham, okay, we got that. White people, they really, certainly some whites, they watch more than others. In some work environments, the surveillance is more intense than in others. But you should just, in my mind, you should just already be thinking, white people, they are watching you intently on the job. Every move, paying attention to you, trying to collect as much data as possible. That's how you maintain a system of white supremacy for centuries, as they have done. Other folks have commentary, workplace racism they wanted to share.
Yeah, can I be heard?
Was there a female caller?
Yes, sir. Well, go ahead, sir. I've talked already. He can go.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you. See that, and I'll be real brief. See, that's why I said earlier, always the knowledge on what's happening at your workplace. Remember what I said, to know who is whose friends, and then when you know that, you know who is who's going to watch you. You know, when they watch me, I always make my point to watch them. You know, because that's something similar happened to me, like you said about the snack, and I brought it up to the thing that I had was, I guess, parking one of the company cars, the cars. And then one of the managers made a comment to me, and I said, well, you said I parked it in the wrong area. I said, well, that's interesting because you didn't say that to Bob, John, and Tom when they did the same thing. And earlier, I said another person, Rick, parked the car in the same spot. Why didn't you say anything to him? And you see, again, that shuts them up. You know, they get mad, and then that shuts them. I let them know that when you watching me, I'm going to be watching you. That's what I'm saying earlier. Always knowledge about what's going on in your area, because and you're right, they do have spies. Some of these white folks have friends, and that's what I'm saying. Who's friend? Because they have friends that they spy on you. Some white person may not like you, and then they'll have their other friends. They want to practice racism against you, so they'll have their other friends spy on you. So that's what I'm saying. Just to be aware on who's friends and who will be watching you. That's why the white folks they hate. I'm the enemy number one. I won't let them get nothing past me. Then you got to remember they have the power. I don't, and I'll mute my line.
The female caller that spoke up, were you going to share?
Oh yes, I was about the hand washing. I understand your ideal about it, but my attitude is if I'm gonna work around white people, I'm going to wash my hands. They love to touch their dogs, let the dog lick their face, this, that, the other. You see how they behave. You hear about some of the diseases. Just for your own safety, do something. Make sure I know you may not want to do it all the time, but you just have to be careful. I know. And then, especially depending on your environment. Like I work at a school. I think I said that last week. I work at a school, and I have 3 classes of students, and I've already had 10 students. Most of my students were majority white. They've all had the flu. I got one that got pneumonia. This, that. I told her, I don't know what y'all are doing, but do not do it so close together, and don't do it near me. But no, you have to be careful about that.
Wow.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah. One thing I've noticed is that I've had partners that girlfriends who have been into this idea of sterility. Always washing their hands, always having the hand sanitizer on deck. Honestly, and then they grew up in homes that had antibacterial soap. Honestly,
ventured off a bit much into the sanitizing.
It's just just that I've noticed they have weaker immune systems. They're constantly getting sick. I never get sick, or I rarely get sick. And if I do get sick, I'm really quick to recover. My immune system is great. I expose myself willfully to whatever the world had coming my way, and honestly, I think I'm a stronger person for it. So yeah, I do not have the fear, and I do not engage in the simulated sterility that they have going on with all of these products and all of these chemicals that they convince us that we have to expose ourselves to all the time. And I'll mute my line.
May I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
I just definitely wanted to say I appreciate everybody's input, because even though you might have been responding to other people, I definitely have been taking notes, and actually, especially something that the retired firefighter said, I thought that was definitely very, I found that very amusing. But I did want to just say that I found there was another observation that I just thought about, just listening to other stories. At my job, I feel like it was maybe one of the female callers, maybe Emmy, had said that really not even trying to smile at white people, and that's something that I've been trying to do as well, to make sure that I'm not opening myself up to have more conversations and being more sociable than what I need to be. And I feel like that's something that they have been noticing, and I do feel like I am being watched a little bit closer, because I have been trying to take a step back as far as what I've been, from how I've been acting before. And I've noticed that once they see that, I guess they feel that they have to put me at ease or do something, say something to me, which it seems like it's kind of backfiring. One of the things that I've noticed is that they would like to try to bring up something good that I've done, but it doesn't come with like a promotion or anything like that. I've actually been told that, so I have to stay right where I am, even though I'm feeling like I'm kind of stagnant. So I just wanted to mention that, and like I said, I definitely appreciate everyone's commentaries. Thank you.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for allowing me to speak again, Gus. About the black male who said that he had the altercation or was reprimanded for the snacks, I almost split my side, but the kicker was when he left his drawer open, his drawer was full of snacks. And that's exactly what they do. Everything they tell you to do, they're not doing themselves. It's do as I say, not as I do. That is white supremacy. That is rhetorical ethics in action. And it was pretty disgusting. And just a general thing for some of the callers, I use a cold water diffuser at work, and I use disinfectant essential oils like Fortify oils, things like that. And I'm not the only one that actually does so in order to prevent getting sick, because working in the healthcare industry, dealing with insurance, I come across the illnesses that white people carry, and they are vectors of everything. They carry all kinds of filth. So to protect myself, that's what I do. And thankfully, it's worked very, very well. It's something that my son does as well at college, and he said that it's definitely saved him from catching all kinds of things based on whatever roommates he might have that they saddle him with during a semester. So it's just, and you can get them for like $19.99 as far as the cold water diffuser. And they're small. You can put them in a small space and just let it run. And you can get like some Fortify oil, rosemary oil. Black pepper is actually good as well. Eucalyptus radiata, and there's a whole bunch of other ones you can learn about, and you can use them to protect yourself from getting sick. That's it. Thank you very much, and I'll mute my line.
We have other folks who had commentary they wanted to share. Actually, we had a person.
Can I respond to that real quick?
Hang on one second, because we had someone who actually wrote in. This person wrote, "At work, I have noticed there are no black males in managerial positions, and the very last to get promotions, if at all. Most managers are white males who either promote other white males and females, only black females who cozy up to them, and non-black foreigners. It is very obvious and has been noticed by myself and other black males for years now. We are always the first to be looked over and the first to get fired, no matter how competent we are or how hard we work. How should we bring this lack of promotion to management, HR, or the EEOC? In my opinion, I think the only instances where I've seen where there's been any sort of success in doing anything about this is where you have actual data, where you have, like you're saying, that these people are not getting promotions to managerial positions. Okay, when you have evidence that over a 5-year period or whatever, however long we're talking, X number of black people applied for this manager spot and they didn't get it. Or you have within the whole company having data, the caller who keeps mentioning having information, you would have to have a lot of data. Those are the cases that I've seen that where it worked out well and somebody got some sort of compensation or they did something to change things, where they had data to show, hey, we have, 20, 30 qualified black employees here. Over a 5-year period, none of them have been promoted to the position of manager. You have, 10 manager spots over a 5-year period. No black people have held those manager spots, and these are their evaluations that are glowing. This is their attendance to show that they've been here. What is the reason that you can show for not promoting any of these black people over a 5-year period? Like, those are the cases that I've seen where you have all of that information. I mean, that would take a lot of data. Most of the times, people that are seeing this, they don't have all of that data, even though it probably is happening. It's exactly what you're saying. So I would say just go about the business of getting as much data as you can. As we talk about on the program, being able to document. If you can get your evaluations together, if you say that other black people on the job have noticed this, if you can all maybe meet off the job, if people want to bring in their evaluations so that you can start collecting data. How many manager spots are there within this specific company, or if you're looking at your specific branch, you can look online if they have other branches. Is this a problem at other branches? Is there any information online where this has been an issue where other people have accused them of not promoting black people to a manager's position? Getting a lot of information and even thinking up front, is this something that you're willing to invest? I think Mr. Williams has talked about that as well. When you go that route, already knowing up front that this might be something that could take 5 years. We've heard about that before. It's not going to be anything that's going to be you go in with this information and they say, oh, okay, right, we got it. We got a new office for you as a manager. That's not generally how it's going to go. I don't hear about that often. It can end up being a 3, 4, 5 year thing where it takes to work out through all of this. So it's something where you would really have to think, is this something that I want to pursue? And if so, getting lots and lots of information. That's the only thing that I've seen that has made any sort of impact in these sort of situations where they're deliberately not hiring black people or not promoting black people.
I agree. And let me say this, Gus, and I'll get off, is that, and it takes years. One thing you don't want to do is go inside the agency. You want to go outside to another agency, like you say, like the Department of Human Rights or the EEOC, and it does take years. And even though they start promoting black people, it's not going to be even. Like, I look at my job, and this is what I told black people, and I'll bring this up next week at the other workplace racism, is that they will have 30 or 40 white managers and 2 black managers, or they, like I said, in my situation, 1 retired, they say, okay, they complain, well, we'll just hire 2 more, and we'll hire 50 white managers. So even if black people do complain, it's not going to be even. It will never be even. That was my comment.
I know. He used the term complain in his email report. That's just one of the things in terms of being mindful with the words that we use. I encourage not using the term complain. I'd say, I'm making a report. I generally would just say I'm making a report. This is not a complaint. I'm making a report of a possible violation, or however you want to phrase it. But I would not say grievance. I don't have a grievance. I don't have a gripe. I don't have a complaint. I'm making a report of a possible violation. Subversive activity, as Mr. Fuller says it. Other folks, if anybody else have a suggestion they would offer for the male caller who was talking about the black males being excluded from these manager positions? No suggestions. That is a tough one. If you get further details, update us. And for any of the folks who dialed in, kind of update us. Let us know, the people, the female who called in, about the touching issue, any of the problems or what have you that you experience. If you can update, that helps us adjust our code. If you tune in and you hear suggestions that sound feasible, sounds logical, sounds like something you might want to incorporate, you try it out. Let us know how it goes. If you say, hey, sounds like these folks are talking crazy, I'm going to use my brain computer, come up with my own solution, come up with my own code. Great. Let us know, what you came up with and how it worked, because that helps us, as I said, refine, adjust our code when we get feedback on, how people responded to these different situations. Other folks have commentary. We have about 15 minutes left. Other folks have commentary before we get ready to wrap up?
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
I don't know about a suggestion to the caller, but as far as Dade County Fire Department is concerned, and it's probably similar on other jobs on how white people on the strategy and or tactics that they utilize with promotions. They normally encourage a class of young white people to take the test, for whatever the promotion is about, especially the chief fire officer. And because they know if that person is something like, let's say early 30s, that they're going to be in that position for about 20 years or so. And it's not going to be, especially if it's an administrative position, they're not going to be going anywhere for a long time. And in turn, within about maybe out of that 20 some odd years, that person is going through, in and around maybe about halfway through that, they have another class to do the same thing. Now, mind you, to be refined, they would allow a small fraction of non-white people, and I put emphasis on non-white people, not just black people, but non-white people, to also sort of be a speckling of non-white people also. So when it comes up to, okay, well, you don't have that percentage, because I noticed with my time on the job that the Black Firefighters Organization would complain that, and it's probably that way with most jobs, they would complain, well, we make up a certain percentage of the area, so therefore, why don't it is a equal percentage of people in positions of authority on the job? And they always have some kind of incorrect excuse. But by they have that being that white people have the power, they can wait you out, even though they may be wrong, and they may be wrong. They can wait you out until you either get tired or someone gets promoted, and it kind of like puts the argument down a little bit, that sort of thing. Just keeps going on and on and on and on with them. Ultimately, when it ends up, all said and done, playing with us, in that process, and it can go on for an eternity, as far as that's concerned. That's all I have to say on that. I was just listening to the talk about promotions and how sometimes it works out, unfortunately. Thank you.
Appreciate that, retired firefighter. Other folks have commentary. Last 10 minutes or so that we have in the program. Other folks have commentary they want to get in.
Yeah, I just can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, regarding the snacks in his drawer, honestly, if I had to give you the image, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Street Kings But at the end of the movie, where Forrest Whitaker tells Keanu Reeves, "Hey, tear down the wall, expose my hoard of money and secrets and everything," it was packed full. I mean, this whole drawer was packed full to the brim. Had the best snacks from just a lot of some of the best snacks, some of the best chips. I'm not gonna lie, I've never had a hoard that tremendous, and even right now, I don't have any snacks. Truth be told, I don't have any snacks. I had some old granola bars from a couple weeks ago, but that was it. But no snacks. And this guy has a chocked full of to the brim file cabinet full of snacks. Not even sharing them either. So that's the situation that I'm in with regard to that.
Can I be heard?
I heard you.
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you. Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe she cannot hear us. Are you still there, the female caller? Are you still with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay, I wanted to speak on the black males getting the manager positions or not getting them. When I look at just like throughout history, they're not giving us those positions unless or the black males, I don't mean it like that. They're not giving the black males those positions because white people don't want to listen to them. And they don't want black people telling them what to do, particularly black men. They'd rather cause a ruckus than have a black male overseeing them. So I think that's a lot of the reason why. And then the people that own these companies, they understand that also, so they don't set it up like that unless the black male is basically real submissive and does what he's told to the letter and isn't going to do anything to promote more black people or do anything against what their code is. So when I look through history, they're not going to allow that to happen. Not in their companies. They'll die before that'll happen. Some black man telling them what to do and running their stuff like that. You can make me money, but you're going to tell me what to do. So that's what I wanted to add to that, just thinking about it. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Last 5 minutes or so. Folks have other suggestions or observations that they want to share before we get ready to wrap up. I did want to say it is so consistent, as I stated, when I speak to non-white people off the air, what have you, workplace racism, it comes up immediately. People have concern. Even it happened earlier this week. I was talking with a black female, and she said that her sister on her job, a white woman, came bearing gifts. She said, "Oh, I have a garden, and I have a gift I want to share with you. Like I was just thinking of you when I saw this. Now, this isn't one of my best gifts, but she brought in, and it was like a dead plant, like not like kind of on the last leg, and maybe need some water, but like totally dead plant." And after some investigating and what have you, the female I was talking to, she said that her sister, that this happened right around election time. And she thinks that this race soldier, this white woman, was just being tacky and sending some message connected with the election. And that was supposed to be kind of like some veiled insult connected to, Trump winning the election and goodbye to, no good Negro President Obama. But this is all the time. So, just, again, no spectators. And this is what you can expect. It's all sorts of tackiness on the job. And really, I think just one of the best things we can do, not being surprised, really having in mind what it means to be white so that we expect them to do all kinds of tacky and trifling things to us. Anybody have anything else they wanted to get in last few minutes? Folks satisfied? I'll assume folks are good. We will be here for Workplace Racism next Thursday, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Every Thursday. Should be no confusion about that. Every Thursday, Workplace Racism. You can email your comments in throughout the week and share. And certainly, as I said, update. If you tune into the program, if you call in, share something, let us know how things evolved for you. That helps us get better. Get a better understanding just of workplace racism and counter racism on the job. We'll be here tomorrow. The Delectable Negro, Part 5. We're picking up. We're kind of at the end of Chapter 3. We're about halfway through the book. Vincent Woodard, the late Vincent Woodard. Tune in, really enjoying the text and are looking forward to getting more. We'll be here on Saturday for the compensatory call-in, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We'll review activities that have taken place over the last 7 days. If you have suggestions, if you can't find something in the archives, if you just have questions about the broadcast, feel free to drop an email untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. We will share your comments on the program. Invest if you think the program is constructive. Racism-notes.blogspot.com. Racism-notes.blogspot.com. Listener supported counter racist radio. When you hit the blog, you will see our PayPal button in the top right corner. If you're not into PayPal, drop us an email. We will get you a physical mailing address. Huge thanks to all the folks who have supported, invested in us. 8 years, hopefully, of providing constructive information on what white supremacy racism is, how it works, what it means to be classified as white. That said, thanks again for everyone tuning in. And again, keep those notes, documentation in the workplace can be very, very helpful. Watch your temperament, all of us. Very, very important. And thanks to the female caller who shared about the white folks stealing on the job and getting caught, getting hauled out from the workplace with the enforcement officials' assistance. Great to hear that whites are the best by far at stealing and looting on jobs. With that, Creator, we ask that you help us remain patient with other Black people, victims of white supremacy. We ask that you help us remain patient with ourselves. Remind us to demonstrate the highest levels of Black self-respect at all times, in all places, each and every time we are in contact with another Black person. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cal signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. Problem. You're a victim. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.